Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday slash Sunday slash whatever day it happens to be
You don't
wherever
have
you
to.
are.
You don't have to include me. That's okay. It's Saturday for everybody. That's fine. That's
How
fine.
how could I not include you,
I,
Mark? You're half of the screen.
that's true. That is true. No, thank you so much. I do feel included. It's lovely.
Hell yeah. And in fact we're it just occurred to me that this is a particularly absurd debate for us to cover because according to one of the interlocutors, the
Hmm.
fact we're on opposite sides of the globe from each other is
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I was just saying in chat, I've never run into this Dave guy, which is surprising. And most of the bigger flat earthers I've actually debated, but I've never debated this man. So I've debated Nathan Thompson, I've debated Whitsitt a couple of times, but I've never debated this person.
I don't know if he's done debates since the one we're going to cover tonight.
Oh,
Professor
okay.
Dave nailed him so hard he's still hurting, I guess. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah.
I did get
Maybe
to
he's
meet
holding out for the final solution. Maybe that's.
the final experiment, but yes,
Hmm.
the final solution is
Sorry,
something else.
that's I haven't woken up yet. I'm so sorry. Yes, that's terrible. That's yeah, final experiment. Yes, I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's oh, I did meet Professor Dave once when I was
Hmm.
Skeptic Haven was doing their fundraiser around Yule last year, and I got to
Hmm.
host an hour, and a bunch of really cool science people came on, and Professor Dave was one of them. And everybody gives him shit for being arrogant and abrupt and rude, but as when you're not actively being a dick to him, he's a pretty swell guy, actually.
Yeah. I don't like, it's kind of like I I I I don't think he's rude and obnoxious and arrogant in real life. It's just when you run into those kind of debates, that's some people's style, and when you get confronted by it, they kind of they're rude back to people that are rude to them. And while you can question whether it's a good debate style, I don't think it's really something you judge people by. For instance, Fight the Flat Earth, Craig, for instance. I don't agree with his debate style. I don't, I think when I say I don't agree, I wouldn't do that myself. But I understand what he's doing because flat earthers in particular can be really obnoxious. Like really, really
Hmm.
obnoxious. I mean, Austin Wistet is a hallmark example of somebody that is incredibly obnoxious and then blames his opponent for being obnoxious. Um, the weirdest thing I ever saw was when he was like, "Oh, you interrupt me," and it's like, "Well, you interrupt me," and he's like, "Well, I interrupt in good faith." That kind of obnoxiousness is
Double
something
standard.
else entirely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like, well, when I interrupted, it is in good faith, but you're interrupting in bad faith, and it's like, well, no, you're getting things wrong. I want to correct that. But it's kind of I don't think that a lot of these people like Craig or Professor Dave or stuff that's who they are, or that's entirely who they are. It's just sometimes we can be obnoxious in debate in order to combat people, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
I think that's true in a lot of cases. Like um AJ and Aiden just did a stream the other day, reviewing a
Mhm.
classic Kent Hovind
Yeah.
addressing an Aaron Ra video. And, Kent goes off about how rude Aaron is and how
Mhm.
arrogant and he's like the most mellow, sweetest guy
Yeah.
all the rest of the time. It's only when
Yeah.
he's engaging with someone deliberately dishonest and bad faith like Kent that you get that side of him. It's,
Yeah. But I
you know,
think Kent's an excellent example because he tries to provoke that behavior, and I think that is the intention of a lot of these people. That people like Austin Whitsitt, like Dr. Tour, for instance, I mean, what are you supposed to do about that level of obnoxiousness? Like that was really obnoxious of Tour with his,
Mm-hmm.
you have nothing, like what are you supposed to do against that? I personally, I'm of the school that I don't give people what they want, because it's very easy for these people to turn around and go, oh, well, he's arrogant and stuff, so I won't debate him, kind of thing. And it's like, no, you're not debating him because he kicked your ass. That's why you're not doing that. So I don't know. I think that it's called for sometimes with some of the more obnoxious things, like I don't blame Craig, Fight the Flat Earth, from just outright insulting some of these guys, because what they do is absolutely terrible. I think the weirdest ever seen is MC Toon, who's really a very calm debater, just absolutely lose it at somebody, kind of thing, when they brought his family into a pre-show of MDD. And it was, I don't blame him in the slightest. I think that is just horrendous, so even the most calm person has a limit that they have. And just, yeah, I think that we're all capable of losing the plot when the circumstances warranted.
Yeah. Patience of a saint comes to mind, but Professor Dave, not a saint.
No.
Much more interested in science.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple other characters too. I'll bring the thing up on stage here.
Okay. Okay.
It's
I haven't seen it, so yeah.
Yeah, it starts out, there's two moderators, and one of them is a person who is known to us.
Oh,
I forget who the other one is off the top of my head, but yeah, we'll see in just a
I
second.
think you know more people in the community than I do, to be honest with you.
In their community, possibly. I don't know.
I think
It's
in
hard to
any
say.
community, I think in like our community of atheists, I think you know way more people than I do. I'm always being told, oh, this person, like, uh, like you put me onto Brent, punk apostate kind of thing, and things like that, and I'm like, I have no idea who that. I'm not very good at networking. It's my
Ah,
networking skills are on computer networking and not human networking. I have problems with human networking. I have issues there. So
I
um,
do too. I have to like aggressively do it, and even then, I
yeah,
still suck. Like, the kids were telling me today that I screwed up by not having Forrest on my Atheist Live show when he was a guest at NocoCon. Because I did an interview with him for NocoCon, but I didn't do one for my own channel. And I'm like, well, that feels weird, though. Because then I'm like, hey, will you come on my atheist channel? Like, that's a separate thing. And they're like, see, this is why you
yeah,
suck at your job, though, because it doesn't hurt to ask.
right, right.
So, Um, plus, speaking of which, I still have to schedule you since I'm doing the interview shows again. We've been saying for over a year that we need to
I
like
know,
do
I
the thing.
know.
It's yeah.
Yeah,
So everybody in chat, and hello people in chat. I see you. I mean, we've been talking back and forth in the chat, but I do want to say hello to everyone actually on the stream. Having you guys here live is the reason we bother to do a live show, and I appreciate y'all coming by. In fact, I
yeah.
may have a thank you present if I can find the button, because it is
Oh
a
yeah,
new
I got to get
month.
those out. I so meant to give them out on Friday, for my fundamentalist fails, and I so totally forgot. I'm a bad content creator. I'm terrible. There's
Yes, how
membership.
dare you? How dare you? So
I
every
know.
month, YouTube gives us creators a certain number of gift memberships to hand out. At my level, we get 10 in groups of
Mhm.
5. So I just dropped the first 5, and those went to John Hudson, Sasha Marseille. My apologies if I mispronounced that. Scotty Ham, Joshy G, and KW. Congratulations, folks. Do enjoy all the fun custom emojis and all the other assorted benefits that come with membership, including, when I have time, members' streams and early access to videos and other things I can't think of right now, but also the emojis and the cool little graphic next to your name. And yeah, fun things. Okay, let's see here. So yeah, we've got our two co-hosts.
Any further
Sean Atwood, I forget which channel he's associated with, but Andrew Gold, he's quite a character. He's on a different channel now, or he rebranded or something. It's called Heretics with Andrew Gold. And he claims to be like a centrist counterculture person, always questioning the media narrative. But really, it's transphobia. It's like every single episode in the last several months has been with like Helen Joyce or Maya Forstater and all the big transphobes and shit, and a few other random people. His most recent episode, and one that I'm thinking about doing a response to, is about Amani Khalif, the Algerian boxer. He's got some expert on who's saying the doctors and the scientists and the IOC are all lying. She's definitely a man, and we can prove it. And I'm like, really? So, yeah, he's just a pretty horrible person.
Yeah.
But this was a few years ago, so he's not the Andrew Gold here is not the Andrew Gold of today.
Right.
But the seeds of that person are there, so, you know.
So known to us in a bad way, not a good way. I gotcha.
Yes. Like you know, when a Hovind appears on screen, we're like, oh, we know what to expect.
Yeah.
In the gas for the flat Earth debate. Here we go. Here's flat Earth. David. Hey, David, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks.
I love how he goes by Flat Earth Dave. Like,
yeah.
Whenever I say David Weiss, I have to explain who I'm talking about, and he just goes by Flat Earth Dave. It's fine. He's also got an app to sell.
Really?
That's why, in fact, let me see if that website is still his website. Like I said, this was a few years ago. FlatEarthDave.com. Okay, yeah, it's it's still there. Book him on your show.
What? Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app.
That's it.
No.
Yep.
No. Your solution to Google censorship. Wait, what's it running on?
I think it does run on Android and possibly iOS, but it's not in the Google Play Store. So you have to get it directly.
Oh no.
And you could get
official
tokens.
Token, Bitcoin kind of thing. Is that what?
I don't even know what that is.
I think
but
that's
you can
no.
remove nanotoxins. It's Flat Earth approved, folks.
It's Flat Earth approved. Wow, this guy. You know, I think if you get rid of toxicity from Flat Earth, it just wouldn't exist anymore, quite frankly. But wow.
Yeah, so he's just leaning really. He doesn't even deny the grift. He's like, yeah, that's what I'm about. It's fine.
Yeah. So PulseChain is a it's a Ethereum fork. So it's basically NFT / sort of Bitcoin Ethereum based tokens, and NFTs. So yes, it's one of these alternative currencies.
Yeah. So it's pretty special.
He's shilling hard. Yeah, that's some hardcore shilling right there.
Yeah. Oh, it's also worth noting that whatever the hell channel Sean Atwood is with, this debate is no longer available on it. I found this on Professor Dave's channel with a link to the original, which showed me this video has been made private or whatever the error message.
Really?
So they're not showing it anymore. It's only available on Dave's channel. But you know, Dave uploaded the whole thing. The only reason for the link was to show that it's the whole thing. So, yeah.
Thanks for having me. This
Thank
is
you for coming back.
going to be interesting for sure.
It's going to be very interesting, isn't it? And Professor Dave,
Howdy.
thank you for coming on for the first time.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on your YouTube success, man. 2 million subs. That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the first time I think a real flat earther, I'll call myself a real flat earther, has spoken direct with Professor Dave as he
Not like those
does
fake
videos
flat earthers, right?
Right. Not like the
those fake-
sellouts with an app or
Right,
whatever.
Right, yeah. So is he talking about who's supposed to be the main guy? It's Mark Sargent, and half the community says that he's a fraud, kind of. It's so ridiculous, you know. It's like they're going, oh, well, he's just put there to make us look bad, and it's like, no one needs to make you look bad. Like, come on, it's so ridiculous, you know. It's so stupid.
Yeah, but they do that all the time. Like our debate with Flatzoid and Jim, you know, we mentioned Jaren, and they were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's a plant." Oh, my
Right.
goodness. It's also possibly worth noting that at the time of this recording, Professor David just passed 2 million. Today, he's at 3.2 million. Details, though.
So they just go out and pretty much straw man us, whether you know it or not, or gaslight us, and then there's really no way to respond because.
No, so you've never seen my channel ever and have no idea what I do because I make academic tutorials.
I have, but your flat Earth stuff is is gaslighting us essentially.
It's devastating and destroys flat Earth easily.
Absolutely. So
I started big straw man. Oh, he says that they think the Earth is flat. What a straw man!
I'm with you. Listen, I don't mean to come off the way. Would it be okay to look for some common ground? Can I just ask a couple of quick questions, Dave? You good with that?
Whatever you want to do, man.
Yeah, I'm just for.
I love how Dave is just humoring him. He's like,
yeah, whatever. Yeah, bring it on. I feel like he's going to get it's going to be that shifting of the goalposts. It's going to be, oh, you agree that like training manuals say it's flat, I win by sort of, you know, fiat kind of thing, you know, like what the hell.
yeah, I'm just going to declare victory.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You know, to see if we have any common ground. Do you believe we went to the moon?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe that governments are here, especially the American government, for the people's well-being?
It's a pretty complicated question.
Okay, you don't have to answer. That's fine. That's good.
Yeah.
Do you believe that there's censorship going on YouTube?
Yes.
Some stuff is deprioritized in the algorithm. I don't know if that qualifies as censorship.
And is the news here to inform or to fill us with propaganda?
I think I would say yes.
is-
I think I would say yes, but is that censorship warranted? Yes. Like the problem comes where you have people peddling medical misinformation and things like that. It's people die over that. That isn't trivial. That isn't just, well, you know, someone saying that the government bad, they've been censored kind of thing. It's like free speech. You don't get to just say anything. Like free speech is not the idea that you can say any damn thing that you want. That isn't a thing, because nobody thinks you should be able to go into an airport terminal and yell bomb. You know, nobody thinks that. That's something that you should not be able to do, and you know, scare everybody around you and do actual harm. So when you're peddling medical misinformation, you're harming people. You shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Yeah, like, you know, selling a nanotoxin cleanser. Right.
Well,
for example.
So that's a complicated question, because supplements and these alternative treatments, you may not know this, but I think in the 80s or something, there was a big push for the government not to have supplements as FDA approved. And there was a big thing with all these actors going, oh, they're coming after our supplements, and all we want is this thing. So these kind of treatments, there's no oversight on them to be effective at all in any way. They just can't claim to be actual medicine. So, and some supplements are beneficial, but the problem is there's no real oversight on it, and it's all due to the sort of alternative treatment industry pushing for it. So, I think it's a problem. It's a problem. And the bigger problem is that some of these treatments, like for instance your toxin cleanser there, do nothing, and he's just flogging it to people, taking their money, and it doesn't do what he claims it to do.
At best, it does nothing.
Yeah.
Quite a few of
Yeah.
these things are actually harmful, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, also on top of that, YouTube is not the U.S. government. YouTube does not guarantee free speech. YouTube is a
That's true.
corporation that has to
Yeah.
watch out for corporate liability.
Mm.
So yeah, they do what they need to. But as Dave said, other Dave was pushing at flat Earth stuff getting knocked out of search results and whatnot. Yes, it's deprioritized.
Can we give them names, because like if we just say Dave, it's going to get confusing. So can we say like Flat
so
Dave
funny.
and Globe Dave, maybe?
Sure, I like Flat Dave. That's a fun name.
Flat Dave and Globe Dave. But yeah, Globe Dave's right. He's just they deprioritize you in the algorithm if your information may not be correct, or there's some categories they put you into, and they give a warning on it, like the flat Earth warning. And they sort of go, well, it's all them trying to keep us down and stuff, and it's like, no more than sort of people claiming fairies are real. They're trying to keep them down or whatever. No, stop.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about David Weiss's channel, but the last time I checked in with Flatzoid, he was at something like 15K subs. So if he's getting censored, then what the hell is being done to us,
Right.
It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's largely propaganda. None of that has anything to do with the shape of the Earth. So I don't know what the hell you're even talking about. Literally, none of that has to do with the shape of the Earth. So you're
Shame
really
on
off to a
you.
bad
Just
start already.
looking for some common ground. That's all.
Oh,
So
if we
Sean,
both don't like the government, therefore
Yeah,
the Earth
so
is flat.
he's basically trying to angle towards, well, there's a conspiracy to keep things down, and there's no conspiracy. They say it outright. Like, they're not saying, just because he's trying to say there's a conspiracy to keep the truth from people, kind of thing. That's what he's angling towards. That's what he's doing. He's trying to say, hey, see, they're stopping the truth from being told. But they've explained why they do it. It's not what you say it is. And they're not saying, oh, well, we're not keeping it. No, they deprioritize these things in the algorithm because they're pseudoscience at best. At best.
Oh yeah, and if they were
potentially
actually
dangerous.
being censored,
Yeah,
we wouldn't find them ever at all.
Right.
It's like not turning up in search results. You wouldn't have a channel, guys.
and it's interesting because you get into this thing with flat earthers going, oh, don't you think the government has ever lied about anything? And that's it's interesting when they go there, because don't you think the government ever lied about anything? And it's like, well, just because they lie about one thing, you can't automatically assume they're lying about everything, right? Like, this is the problem. You basically go, oh, well, if they lie once, everything's wrong. Well, they tell you not to, like, eat paint or, play with fire in the forest, kind of thing. Like, not everything the government is doing is automatically a lie because they lie about one thing. That is a terrible way to look at it.
Yeah, it's like, do you think that the warning about lead paint is a lie? Are you snacking on lead paint chips to prove them wrong? Like, what are we doing here? Ay. It's well, I mean, it's a conspiracy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So the common ground is then we're going to try and keep talking points to 3 minutes each, responses to 2 or 3 minutes each, so we could get through this hour and everyone could get an equal share of the time involved here. And I think the first point that we've got up on the list is, what is gravity?
You want to
What an interesting way to start a flat Earth debate. Hey guys, what is gravity?
They put into segments. I feel like Dave won't be able to resist interrupting. You know,
Maybe. Yeah. It's. I think that they both know that this is just going to be silly. So why not lean into it?
Want to go first, Dave, or you want me to go?
Oh, okay. This how we're doing this? Okay, so according to general relativity, it's the curvature of space-time around massive objects. And so this is one of the easiest ways to know that the Earth is a sphere, because everything we see, everything, including the Earth, right, very large, massive objects are crushed into a sphere. That's why stars, planets, moons, everything pretty much is spheres. So you can now go ahead and do your like electric gravity bullshit, and then I'll explain to you why it's stupid.
Well, the question is, does anybody any scientists or anybody that's ever proven that any of the luminaries we see in the sky are even physical, let alone spheres?
I mean,
what?
Again, we've been to the moon. People have walked on it. It kind of proves it's physical. I don't know.
And we've sent probes to other planets. Like there's a rover currently wandering around Mars.
Yeah. But okay.
Yeah, we can see them in telescopes.
You can see them. So you believe that if you see something, that'll tell you its shape. So when I look at this, are these spheres?
Oh.
Are these spheres, Dave? Are these spheres?
Yeah, no, I've seen this little trick, and I know the
it's not a
third
little
one from
trick.
the left is flat.
It's showing you.
See, here's the
third
problem.
one from the left is flat. Dave, let me give me a second, then you can go.
No, because I've seen you do this, because I watched 2 of your videos, and you say the same crap in every single one.
Right.
I know what these are. I know what these shapes these are.
So how do you know what shape the moon is? How do you know
so
that the moon is even a physical object? During a new moon, no one sees the moon in the sky.
I know you're talking.
And they also put out energy as well. Like we look at them under different sort of types of light coming out from them. So we don't just look at the visible light spectrum. We look at across an entire electromagnetic spectrum about what they're actually producing. So I don't know how you can sort of claim that the sun isn't a physical object, yet it's producing like a whole ton of UV light, which we convert into electricity. I don't like, what is it then? And how does it convert into electricity if it's not electromagnetic radiation along the ultraviolet spectrum? Like, what are you saying? I don't understand what he's saying.
Yeah. Similarly, the planets they all produce radio waves. English is hard, folks. It's one of those days.
Yeah.
We've recorded the radio wave frequencies and translated them into human listenable frequencies. And there's an album you can actually buy on Amazon that plays the music of the spheres. You can listen to what Jupiter sounds like and what Saturn sounds like and shit. Like,
yeah.
How could that be if they weren't real? And that's just, it's so wild to make that claim. Prove they're not luminous. Like, prove they are. Like, we have reason to believe this is true. Show me what you've got that shows it isn't. But skepticism is hard too.
And the thing is that because of the tilt of the Earth and because of the sort of way that things travel, we don't just have sort of one side of these things, they're also rotating. So obviously something like Jupiter, its day, I think it's incredibly long, like it's insanely long, but it still does rotate. So that thing that you've got there with the balls, or the what you say, oh, is that a sphere? Yeah, we'll rotate it and see what happens, because we see these things rotate. So it's not a very good approximation, because we see the spot on Jupiter rotate around. Like, so if you want to rotate them, then maybe you've got a point.
Yeah, and it's the other way around. Jupiter has about a 10-hour day. But The way you said that made me think of another thing. We can see Jupiter's moons. I mean, that's the thing that got Galileo in
right,
trouble,
yeah.
remember? And we
Yep.
have powerful enough telescopes now that we can not only see that those are also spheres, but sometimes they cast a shadow on Jupiter when they move in front of it.
Right, right.
Like, how do you get that with things that aren't real objects? I don't know.
But this is what flat earthers do. They'll take something incredibly simplistic that's not really analogous, like his demonstration here, and say, see, you know, that shows that you're completely incorrect because you can't see that these things are half circles or flat or whatever. And it's like, yes, but it's not analogous because we see these things rotating and yours aren't rotating, they're static.
Yeah, missing a rather important bit. And speaking of important bits, it sounds like a Brentley segue. Left-handed Jedi gifted 5 Emberships. Sweet. Thank you so much. And those went to Kalasia789, who I still can't pronounce your name, Rochelle. I'm very sorry. Hillhugger, Robert X, Roman Weber, and Alexander King. Congratulations, folks, and enjoy all the fun custom emojis and all the other good things that come with that membership. One of these, I should just like make a list and keep the list off to the side. But yeah, I appreciate the hell out of that, Jet. Thank you so much. Woo!
Reason. So this works because that's not moving. The things in the sky move. So if you take
Right.
the third one from the left, which I know is flat, and you move it around, it's going to start to change shape, right? If the moon was a flat disk, I don't even know if that's one of your talking points or not. As it passed over you, it would change shape. It would
I don't think the moon
distort.
is a flat disk at all.
Okay, so it doesn't matter though. That's why what you're saying is stupid because these objects do not move. Now, the other problem is it's not just about shape, it's about other things like composition. Do you know what spectroscopy is?
Ooh, that's a solid point.
Yeah.
I think I remember this got made into a short, but I may be thinking of there's so many flat earthers who make so many dumb arguments. I may be thinking of something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, spectroscopy.
Spectroscopy can tell the what's in an atmosphere by what light actually passes through it and what doesn't, essentially. And now we're starting to figure out what's the atmosphere of exoplanets is by exactly the same thing, which is so interesting. Yeah, really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's so cool. So Dave may explain it, but in case he doesn't, the TLDR on that one is every element produces what's called an emission spectrum. It's when it is shooting out photons. It only does so in very specific wavelengths. Like, you know, hydrogen does these two lines right here next to each other, and they're always the same distance apart and always at those frequencies and whatnot. It works the other way around, too. When hydrogen is blocking the light from a star behind it, you'll see absorption lines in exactly the same place as those emission lines. And that's what we do to get the composition of exoplanet atmospheres, is when the planet crosses in front of the star, we see the absorption lines that when we're looking at the star without a planet in the way, that those frequencies are there. But when the planet's in the way, absorption lines. So we know those elements are present in that atmosphere. It's amazing. Science is so cool.
Is you can measure gases, but it has to be in a container. Where's the container?
No. Stop. We are looking at light. We're looking at light, and we are understanding about the materials, right? We're understanding the composition of things based on light. So when you start talking about gases, you show me immediately that you don't even know what spectroscopy is. So you do not know the ways in which we figure out things about celestial objects. You literally don't even know the definitions of the words that represent the techniques that we use. So why are you even talking about it?
So my question is, spectroscopy needs to be in a container. Otherwise, you don't know what
Spectroscopy needs to be in a container. The study.
This is the one I thought it was.
Oh, no.
You know, you can't have gas pressure without a container. You can't have light waves without a container too, apparently. But I mean, you could argue that the universe is a container. After a fashion. I'm just being silly.
Yeah. But that container, that's Flatzoid's favorite argument. Like, you can't have gas pressure. Number one, it's atmospheric pressure. It's not gas pressure. That's a different thing, because gas pressure we kind of measure as sort of pushing against the sides of a container. So they want to relabel it gas pressure because atmospheric pressure has no. It's bound by gravity, basically. That's what is holding it to the Earth. And if it was a container and there was no gravity, then it would all equalize. It would just equalize into the same pressure. But it doesn't. And the reason why is because gravity is holding it down. The pressure gets higher and it pushes against it, meaning that some of the I think Dr. Tapioca Weasel does an amazing thing about this, that it all sort of bounces, the bouncing of the atoms against one another forces some up. So you get less and less pressure going up. That's only possible because there is no physical container there. That's the only reason that's possible. And by physical container, I mean a solid barrier rather than, gravity obviously is a physical force. So, or a physical pseudo force. So
Yeah.
well, but don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that gravity isn't physical. I'm just saying there's no physical barrier there, like he's trying to suggest.
Yeah,
There ain't no dome.
It's exactly the same thing with water, right? Because to have liquid water, you have to have pressure. And it's the atmosphere providing that pressure. It's a fucking gas. It's just floating molecules and shit.
Yeah.
But there's enough of it that it creates enough pressure to hold the water down in a liquid state most of the time. So yeah.
Of how light interacts with matter needs to be in a container. What does that mean?
Otherwise, when you're looking at the moon, you don't know what gases you're seeing in between us and the moon.
Gases? The moon is solid. The moon is a solid object.
How do you know that the moon is solid? How come you can't see it during a new moon?
What? We can see it. It's just you.
He has the object permanence of a fucking toddler. I
What the
can't
hell?
see it, so it's not there.
Holy crap!
Wow. Okay.
You realize it's just like dark, like when the sun's not shining on it, it's black. And the thing about space, you see, I feel like I'm in a Red Dwarf episode. You ever see that? Thing about the moon, right? When there's no sun on it, is it's black. Thing about space is it's black, so you can't see it. It doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean we can't like observe the actual body itself. Wow, oh boy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But this came up in our debate with Flatzoid and Jim.
Yeah.
You actually can see the moon when it's new, especially during a solar eclipse. Like this.
Yeah.
I have a photo of my own. To save time, I just Googled one. There's a better one from the most recent eclipse we had, but this came up faster. This is from the 2016 eclipse. It's Don Sabers, Ron Royer, Miloslav Druckmuller. My bad on pronunciation, of course. They work together and they produce this image. We've got the sky, the stars, we've got the coronal pattern, and we've got the moon visible because of the earth shine during the total eclipse. And, to do this, you have to have your camera on some pretty specific exposure settings, but you can do it. Like I said, I've done it myself. This is just a better image. And, we ran into this. Flatzoid said the same thing, and I pointed out, I've taken a photo of the moon while it was new, because during an eclipse you can, because enough of the sun's light is blocked that the earth shine makes it visible. It's very, very dim. You need a camera to do it. You can't do it with your naked eye, but you can do it. But, if I can't see it, it's not there. Okay.
Why can't you see it during a new moon?
Yeah.
Because do you understand how vision works?
Well,
right? In a new moon, what's happening in a new moon? The
There's no
light from
light.
the sun is illuminating the side away from us.
So
Right? Light illuminates the things that it hits. So a new moon is when the side that the sun is illuminating is the other side away from us. What do you want it to do? The light to go around the moon and come back and
So-
hit the other side like magic?
without interrupting, let me just answer. when we have a when it's nighttime.
I'm going to interrupt. I have the same question for Flat Dave as I had for Flatzoid that I'm still waiting on an answer for, by the way. How does a flat earther explain a solar eclipse?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if the moon isn't a real thing, how does it get in front of the sun? If the sun and the moon are both local and close, how does the moon get in front of the sun? I just...
Mm-hmm.
I have so many questions.
Yeah.
You're away from all lights and there's a full moon, I can read by that moonlight. That moonlight casts a shadow on the ground. Don't interrupt. That casts a shadow on the ground. So that moonlight, which is reflected sunlight off a dusty rock,
what's interesting is he's saying don't interrupt, but he tried to interrupt Dave multiple times while he was talking.
Yeah. It's, you know, double standards. I don't know if he's... I mean, like I said, he leans hard into the grift, so I don't even know if he bothers with the, you know, it's because the Bible says so justification, but that's usually what we find, so who knows? We have a bunch of folks dropping by. Of course, Joe from Kentucky Atheist just ended his stream. He's here, and I'm trying to say hi to everybody as you come in, but there's so many
there's
folks.
been Dave from Captive Death. Maya just graced us with
Crystal.
a present.
Yep, there's Dave, Hail Bigfoot.
Beheaded kamikazes in the house. Spiel Kalbon Sparta, which I always mess up. I'm so sorry, buddy. Is in the house. Ryan Donovan's here. There's a lot of cool people. Star Song is here. Vic Lit is here. Spooky Bed Hair came in just to kind of insult me, which I'm used to by now. Purple Rhymes with Orange is here. There's a whole bunch of awesome people. Kevin Price, hello. I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat. I apologize. I'm just sort of awesome people dropping in. Top Testers here. Barbara Ali, good to see you. Alex Markel, good to see you. Naked Olympics, our best Olympics newsletters. Good to see you. I'm sorry if I missed anybody.
And a very valid name.
Yeah.
They just don't Olympics like they used to. What can you do?
No.
But, you know, if you would like, future people, hello, if you would like to join us in the live chat, make sure to ring the little bell so you get notifications, you know, when we do these. We're here every other week, and on the other week, we're on Mark's channel. And link to Mark is in the description. So, you know, make sure to subscribe to both.
I'm so sorry. I missed Love's Kimberly. So good to see you. And Caterpillar's here. What up, Cat? They are awesome.
Oh, it's B.S. Lewis. I see.
Oh.
My formidable opponent from the debate over on Nara's channel a couple of months ago.
They
If you don't know B.S. Lewis, he does irreverent cartoons of counter-apologetics that are often really freaking hilarious. And you should absolutely go check those out after this show. I haven't seen BS in a little while, actually. But, you know, life gets lifey. I am glad to see everybody, though, because, you know, the more the merrier in live chat.
Is bright enough to travel 238,000 miles to cast a shadow on the ground and to light up my book so I can read. During a total solar eclipse in your world, the Earth is a full Earth from the moon's point of view. It's bigger and shinier, and it should light up the moon, but it doesn't, and no telescope, from any position with infrared or anything has ever seen the moon.
Nope. Nobody has ever... No one has ever seen the moon during a solar eclipse. I mean, I realize this is a debate that happened years ago, but it's still so fun that we're able to like debunk him in real time.
Yeah.
Effectively. Oh goodness.
Can you think of why? Can you think of why? Can you think of a much, much brighter object that is right there where the moon is?
Well, during
the corona of the sun, which is thousands of times brighter. What you're doing right now is you're basically saying, I'm going to shine a spotlight directly into your eyes, and then you tell me if you can see a firefly 2 centimeters to the right. Like, what are you talking about? Do you seriously not understand this stuff? A child can understand this stuff.
So when you're throwing out words like spectroscopy, what's the difference between spectroscopy and astrospectroscopy?
What do you mean astro? So astro is a prefix that means stars. So if that's even a word, it's spectroscopy pertaining to stars. What are you like
Yeah.
Googling stuff furiously over there?
Oh
I'm
no,
just
it's
asking
made
you
by
what the
Jim Bob. Hang on. What physical properties does space-time have such that it can bend? Oh, he is a flat earther. I really suspect that he was a flat earther, and that confirms it. Congratulations,
go.
Jim Bob. Yeah.
Look at that. Even before he came to all of our attention, he was
Yep.
already saying stupid shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wowzers. Who introduced us to him anyway? Where the hell did he come from?
I think that Grayson went on his channel or something like that. I think it was either Grayson or maybe Doc Dino, maybe. No, I think it was Grayson went on his channel, and he really annoyed Grayson a lot. I think he mentioned that, which is totally understandable because that's his MO. He tries to make people angry. He was poking at me and prodding at me, trying to say, "Oh, he's a coward that won't debate me on transgenderism," because he's a complete bigot and absolute tool. So I just ignored him because, that's going to annoy him more than anything else. But
You're probably right.
yeah, he's an absolute joke.
Yep, I'm waiting for some random bigot to come try to debunk me because, I mean, not only do I exist, which is a nice start, but also
Yeah.
all of their arguments don't work on me.
Mhm.
And that should be fun. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm just Jim Bob.
taking
You
a-
spent $5 on that.
You'd think you could come up with a better question, but
Yeah.
A few notes. I figured out. I watched a few of your videos. I know the straw manning that you're going to try to do and the things that you're going to try to claim. And in reality, an infrared camera, a regular camera from the space station.
Poisoning the well. This is poisoning the well. It's sort of, well, I know, and don't get me wrong, Dave was doing it earlier. He was sort of saying, I've seen a couple of your videos and how stupid they are, kind of thing. But yeah, it's poisoning the well from him. I know the type of things you're going to say. You're going to make these straw man arguments and do it. He hasn't done anything of the sort yet. So
yeah, but it's never too late.
They should be able to see the sun, the moon, either approach the sun, eclipse the sun completely, or exit the sun, and nobody has ever seen it. So again, why are we looking up in the sky?
Yeah, I just explained. I just answered your question. You just answered it again. You asked a question that I just answered. The sun is very bright. Right? Way, way, way brighter than Earthshine. Do you understand that if something very bright, you're looking at something very bright, you can't see something way less bright next to it? What are you not getting about that?
When there's a total eclipse of the sun and you have the little ring around there, you can block that out so it doesn't blind you and you still can't see it. You know what?
It doesn't block it out. The corona. Have you never seen an eclipse?
Why are we talking? You can make a fake eclipse, right? By putting a disc in front of the sun and then looking at the corona, and you can do the same thing with the corona. You can block it. Why are we looking up at the lights in the ceiling that determine the shape of the floor?
Because it works really well.
It's interesting.
Oh, so this is where Kyle got his thing from. Like, why are we looking at the sky to determine the shape of the Earth, kind of thing? That wasn't what the question was about, sir. For a start, you were the one claiming that the moon vanished during an eclipse for some reason. But he's sort of saying, hey, you can fake an eclipse by putting a disc in front of it. What evidence do you have that that's a disc? Like, where is this coming from?
I think what he means is like the I forget the name of the probe. We mentioned Grayson. Where's Grayson? But we have what is it? The Soho Observatory. It's a probe that stares specifically at the sun. And when we want to look at a coronal mass ejection or something, it has a little metal arm that tilts out and blocks out the center part of the sun so it can see the corona because the brightness difference is ridiculous. So it'll bring that metal, and a lot of other cameras, other telescopes do this too because the sun is so damn bright. They'll use a little piece of metal to block the disk of the sun so we can see the corona, and that lets us look at where the solar flares are going and all that sorts of fun stuff. So I think that's what he means, is that we could use a similar disk to block out the corona too, or just the corona and leave just the sun, something like that. And theoretically we could, the same
Yeah.
way we block out the sun, but like rather limited use case.
It's the easiest way to figure out the shape of the Earth is by looking at the celestial objects in the sky and recording their motion. It's very, very easy.
One second, Ash. Ash has said we've got to move on to the next talking point, which is space is not as depicted, displayed in media, movies, etc. Flat Earth, Dave, do you want to start with that one?
Ask the question again, please.
Space is not as depicted, displayed in media, movies.
That was eerie how Andrew and Dave both like sipped at the same time in the same way. But also, that's not a question. Space is not as depicted as in media. Well, what do you mean by that? Are we talking, gravity? Are we talking Apollo 13? Like, which are we talking Star Trek?
Right.
You know?
I think maybe a better thing, well, just to make it a question, you could say, is space the same as depicted in movies and fiction? Basically, I don't. Yeah, it's not a question. I don't know where they're getting these from. I have no idea where they're getting these questions from.
Yeah, it's a little wild. It's an interesting way to run a debate, though. Like, instead of having the interlocutors engage with each other, you present them with a series. We see this a lot in presidential debates. You present a series of questions, and then you get their answers, and the audience just has to make up their own mind, kind of thing. You don't see that a lot in online debate, though.
Yeah, I didn't mention. I said that Kyle does that, which is I was talking about Flat Earth Kyle, the Flat Earther, Mormon Kyle. He says, "Oh, we can't look at the look out to see the shape of the Earth. We can actually."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jim did that in our aforementioned debate with him and Flatzoid. He said you can't determine the shape of the floor by looking at the ceiling or something like that. Like, what? But also, you absolutely can. Like, if you're in a room and you see that the ceiling is rectangular and the walls have all right angles, pretty good bet that the floor is also rectangular. I don't know.
Well, I think when he brought that up to me, when Carl brought it to me, I said, "Well, you can tell a lot about where you're traveling and the circumstances around you. It's like you can tell a lot about where you're going from looking out the window of a car, kind of thing. Like, there's no reason why we can't use the surrounding things to tell us a lot about what's happening." So it's just one of those things that's it's just a silly thing that flat earthers say that doesn't actually correlate to anything in reality.
Yeah, it sounds impressive. What is it? Deepity, I believe, is the expression for it.
Yeah.
A thing that sounds like it's deep and profound and whatnot, but is actually just fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, space is, they're just giving us images of insanity in space. Like when they show us nebulas, right? They show us this and they tell us this is where stars are born. This is where there's gas and dust, so much of it that it's creating stars and spitting them out like ping pong balls, where they go run away and they park themselves in the rest of the
Nobody
galaxy.
says that.
That would be cool, though.
Yeah, it would be cool, but no one's saying that.
Yeah. At least there's this. That particular nebula, which is
Offset?
yes, I believe so. It's there is a region of star formation in there. It's not, he's not just looking at some random nebula and going, "Oh, you say this is where stars are." That one actually does have star formation. So, I mean, partial credit, I guess.
And dust in space, in a vacuum, in zero pressure. How does that work? How come this doesn't collapse in on itself? This is just
It does.
That's the whole point. That's the entire point. The dust accretes and forms things like, I don't know, stars.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, and also technically correct, but space is a vacuum from our perspective here on an atmosphere that, has, 1 bar of pressure at sea level. Compared to here, space is a vacuum, but it's just very low pressure, nearly zero pressure. But having nearly zero pressure is not the same as an actual vacuum, which it's a relative concept, but it means negative pressure. It's something sucking. Space doesn't actually suck. It just has very, very low, near zero pressure.
Oh, Joe's right. The Kentucky 80 says Pillars of Creation. Yeah, you're right, but I don't. Yeah, it's not called. The photograph is called Pillars of Creation. The nebula is the Eagle Nebula. So we're both wrong, but you're definitely righter than I am. Absolutely correct.
Huzzah!
Yay!
So at the very least, while these two are,
That's how stars.
there they are. I hate it when they hesitate before they start playing again. We learned something. And any day we learn something is a good day.
Yeah.
Stars are born.
Yeah,
They
so-
do collapse.
Yeah,
It's
so-
how stars form.
Dave, in your world, this is gases are collapsing upon themselves and then
Yeah.
igniting themselves in a vacuum, in a
No.
vacuum, and then they
No,
burn
this is-
trillions
stop,
and
stop.
It's not ignited, like it's fusion, not like they think because the sun looks like a big ball of fire that it's a big ball of fire, and it's not. They're like, oh, if there's no oxygen in space, how is the sun burning? It's not. It's doing fusion. It's not an explosion. It's doing fusion. It's a different process. It's so like, oh boy.
Well, as we heard earlier today on Breeze Live from the Hive broadcast, the air in space is different.
Oh.
Yeah, Bree was covering Matt Powell today.
Oh.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
I still contend that Matt Powell is a giant tool. He's just such a tool.
Yeah, he's one of the worst humans alive, I dare say.
Oh yeah.
trillions of years.
Look, I know that you want to just spew your script without anybody challenging, but you say so many
I have no
stupid things,
script, David.
and I'm here to tell you why everything you're saying is stupid. So when you say stars igniting in a vacuum, the reason that's confusing for you is that you think stars are little bonfires
No, I
because
Yeah,
you're a
yeah.
moron.
Yep. And
Yeah. He's not wrong.
hello, Fern. Yes, Matt, I love to lie,
Hey, Fern.
Powell. And Fern actually is a plant.
Fern is a plant, yes.
We don't know if Fern
Absolutely.
is a NASA plant, but Fern is a plant.
Yeah. Or a government plant, yeah. But
Yes.
Fern definitely is a plant. And that's the thing. I haven't seen this, but he's right. Like here's the thing he's pointing out. He wants to gish gallop, and this is tried and true. Creationists do this all the time, perfected by Dwayne Gish. He wants to toss out point after point after point so that Dave can't possibly address every single point. It's such a obvious dishonest debate tactic, yet they still keep doing it. All of these people still keep doing it, but it's so dishonest.
It's as close to winning as they ever get. That way, even when they get called out on it, they still get to say after the fact, Globe Dave never addressed this point and this point and this point.
Right.
And we broke them. They're broken. They're not going to come
Oh,
play.
they started out broken.
Kamikaze says pressure in a vacuum is only negative relative to atmospheric pressure. You can't have less than no matter in a volume. Yes, but also no. I learned an interesting thing a few months ago. There is such a thing as negative pressure. It's a trick that trees use when when capillary action isn't enough to pull the water all the way up in the where's my damn brain? The circulatory system of the trees. So they because they're able to vent out molecules through an active transfer process, it actually creates actual suction, like actual negative pressure. They've been measured at something like negative 29 atmospheres, which is fucking incredible. I did not know that was possible. And the reason is because tree biologists don't share their notes with physicists. You only find out this shit when you go look at their stuff. And I ranted about this a few months ago, shortly after I discovered it, because there's so much that people in every science are wondering about that people in a completely different discipline have the answer to. But because we're not sharing information, we're all only publishing in our own journals, our own specialties. We don't know what everyone else knows. And it drives me crazy. But there we are. Xylem. That's it. Yes. Ah. So yeah, there's tangent.
That's fascinating. Okay.
Because
No,
you don't
you-
understand nuclear fusion.
you think that
Nuclear
certain-
fusion is the process by which stars glow. They're not little fireballs. And
So
you
Dave-
can learn that by Googling something for 5 seconds, but you don't do it.
So Dave, do you believe that all the rocky bits turn into perfect balls, and then all of the gases somehow start getting gravity, and they start pulling it together? They
Start
get so
getting
big.
gravity? What do you
Well,
mean start getting gravity?
How do they grow into stars? How come the dust is accumulating? What's bringing it together? Somebody picking
Gravity.
it up like a snowball?
Gravity.
Well,
Gravity.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so they get something, and it's a
They don't
David's
start
just-
getting gravity. They just have gravity, depending on how much mass they have. As it all accumulates, it gets more gravity because it's more massive.
It's a pretty
That's
neat
it.
trick.
It's as simple as that. They don't start getting gravity. Even one particle, one bit of dust has gravity. It's just so insignificant that it really doesn't affect much until it hits another one and sticks to it, and then hits another one, and then eventually you get insane gravitational forces. I don't know why this is so hard to understand for him.
It's because it's catastrophic to the argument he's trying to make.
Oh, yeah.
Nee, we are at 1.25. I thought about speeding them up more, but
Nah,
with the
fine.
gish galloping, it could get a little
Yeah.
crazy.
It's interesting though that he said, "Oh, well, don't interrupt me," but he's tried to interrupt every time Globe Dave has started speaking. Every single time.
There should be a counter for that. Oh well, I don't have time to set one up.
tiny bit of gravity pulls in some more dust. It pulls in, not dust, it pulls in gases. And somehow it's pulling all of these gases together and turning into a nuclear furnace that burns for billions of years. I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. And if you
Okay,
want to
so-
believe that, that's
so-
your world.
I don't understand
So,
it, therefore it's false.
It's not like a nuclear power plant. That's fission, not fusion. Oh boy. But
Mhm.
see, this is a lack of understanding of sort of how a star actually works, that it's not like fission where we're splitting atoms and energy is being generated from the fission. It's fusion where hydrogen is fusing with another hydrogen, producing helium and releasing heat like that. It's just like you don't understand the basics of it, yet you're trying to argue against it. It's like, tell me you don't understand physics without saying I don't understand physics in the slightest. It's like when you say, to creationists, tell me you don't understand evolution without saying I don't understand evolution. And they say something like, well, if, survival of the fittest, then everything would just kill each other and there'd be nothing left. Like, yeah, because it doesn't work like that. That's
You think you're
and it's
related to a strawberry.
exactly, yeah. And here's the interesting thing, that it was Flat Dave that was going, oh, you're just going to straw man all of my arguments. What do you think that is?
Oh, it's so fun. Like we don't even need Globe Dave. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Professor Dave adds a tremendous amount of good science communication and snark, which we all know I am a sucker for. I love Kalen Conrad for their snark, but you don't even need Professor Dave here because Flat Dave is he's a lol cow.
That's terrible.
So centuries of brilliant astronomers versus nuh-uh. Is that really all you have? Is the entire field of astronomy and you going, I don't like it. That's dumb. I'm dumb and I don't get it. So astronomy is wrong.
Brief story. In high school, I was in a pre-calc class, and not to play into a stereotype, but this person actually was a football player. And, we got a few weeks into the class, and finally he got really frustrated, and he slammed his book on his desk, and he said, none of this makes any sense. You all are only pretending to get it. This must be a trick on me to make me feel stupid or whatever. Calculus isn't real. Y'all are just pretending. And it basically, it's the same thing. It's saying, I don't understand, therefore no one does. And you all who are pretending to are just lying.
That's literally your argument against astronomy right now.
You never met these men. You don't know anything about these men other than the stories that the controllers of this world tell you.
You know they wrote books, right? They wrote books that we could read, and then
yeah, and we don't just believe them because all hail Newton kind of thing. It's because we use their principles to do stuff. Like we've checked it. We've checked the math, mate. We've checked the math on these guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's sort of the whole thing with science is you can check anybody else's results. That's why we have general relativity now instead of just Newton, because somebody came up with another idea and tested it, and it did better than Newton's did. But yeah,
it's funny because it's like, well, you've never met Alan Turing either, but you're using a computer right now, aren't you? Like, what?
Yeah, you don't know. Maybe it's magic. Maybe there's little demons inside powering it or something. You don't know.
Maybe there's like, a little angel peddling his little wings off inside your computer. Who knows? Who knows?
It's
you
Jesus
can't prove
particles.
it's not. Jesus particles. Yeah. Just the good old RN Jesus. Yeah.
And we base astronomy on that and do astronomy every day, right?
Dave, try not to interrupt. Eratosthenes figured out the shadow. Eratosthenes figured out the diameter, the circumference of the Earth with his sticks and shadows. But nobody in that area that came out of that, other mathematicians, never wrote any books about him. They ignored him. They just never mentioned it. And then all of a sudden, it shows up in the 1900s in books that go into the
that's not true.
system.
I mean, if you're just going to lie, then we can just play the lie game.
And Dave, what
that's
what
not
about
true? There were people that disagreed with him and people that agreed with him, but how do you think we know about him after all of this time?
Yeah,
they didn't just show up in the 1900s.
Weirdly, it's sort of like they say, you think no one notices you, say something wrong on the internet. It's sort of the same thing. Like the reason we have the writings of Aristotle today is because a critic of his during the Golden Age of Islam, when they were allowed to be scholars, wrote reaction videos in text form say, this dude's wrong about everything. Look what he said here. That's why we know about Aristotle, because people disagreed and wrote about it. Same thing.
Yeah, and I think that Eratosthenes, like the Islamic people in like the 17th century knew about Eratosthenes. Like I don't understand where he gets this idea of people didn't know about this guy.
He did a whole lot of shit, not just his sticks and shadows. I mean, he was, if I remember correctly, he was the chief librarian of Alexandria. Like,
are you sure?
I could be mistaken, but I believe he had a whole
know
tenure.
his experiment started from Alexandria, like he went down to, I can't remember the name of the town. No, he was a chief librarian. You're absolutely right. Yeah, good call. All right, there you go.
Yeah, so he not only kept the book safe during his tenure, but he also oversaw the attached university, the scholars, because back in the day, you couldn't just go into a library and look at books. Like, you had to be approved to touch the holy tomes and whatnot, where all the knowledge lived. Because we didn't have printing presses. Everything had to be copied by scribes. There were only so many copies of everything. And most of it was hundreds of years old and could crumble at any moment. So, you had to be a legit scholar or you wouldn't be allowed anywhere near the books.
Yeah, so apparently he was described by the Pseudolexicon, which is a 10th century Byzantine text. So the whole idea that he only popped up in the 19th, that is so wrong. Like, you could not be more wrong. Cyrene was the name of the place that he went to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I can never remember that. But yeah, it wasn't just sticks and shadows. In Cyrene, there was a well, which during, one particular day, maybe it was the summer solstice, but maybe it was like a day or two short or whatever, the sun happened to pass exactly through a 90-degree zenith. So there was no shadow at all inside that well at the moment the sun was at high noon. And, that's pretty cool. That doesn't happen in a lot of places. So that got the gears turning over in Alexandria.
Yeah.
Fact that proves nothing. It works perfectly on a flat Earth. Sticks and shadows prove the Earth is flat, and it proves
No, it
the
doesn't.
globe.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So you can get the same thing by putting the two sticks sort of if the sun is small and local, but as soon as you add another one, the problem then becomes is that if it is flat, the shadow length should happen in a linear way. So linear progression is like 2, then 4, then 6, then 8 kind of thing. But what we find is that over multiple of them, it actually happens. God, I've just forgot the word. It happens when you square things.
Exponential?
Exponentially. Thank you so much. I don't know why my brain would not remember that word.
It's a hard day for brains.
Right. So it happens exponentially. So it basically doesn't go 2, 4, 6. It goes 2, then 4, then sort of 7, then, and it gets exponentially longer, which means that there's something else working on it apart from the sort of distance from the sun. There's also the curvature. And that's how we kind of know it's curved.
Yeah, we went over this. I forget if it was with Jim or that time I got into it with Witsit in somebody's chat, but I think it was one of the after show things that Issa was attempting to moderate. But yeah, TLDR is once you add a third stick and have a third shadow, you either have a round Earth or you have two different suns in different locations.
Yeah.
You would have to assume parallel rays. Listen to this. Aristophanes believed that parallel rays are coming into Earth, right? And no one has ever seen parallel rays coming into Earth, right?
Oh, really?
What?
Oh, really? Hold on. I did not have this image ready, so I'm not prepared for it. Let's see. I can't spell today either. I am bad at my... Oh, shit. I saved the image. I don't have it handy. Whatever. I'll just describe it, and if I find it later, I'll show you folks.
Well, he's probably talking about crepuscular rays, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the whole thing is that's what you should see when you see parallel lines. Like, for instance, train tracks, they converge as well. It's just the way that your sight works. But those train tracks, we know that they are parallel, but they look like they converge into one. They don't look parallel.
Yeah, exactly. This is sort of what he's getting on about. Now, they like to say this shows the sun is local and close and whatever, but the thing is, if you use flat Earth math on something like this, where the sun is actually below the clouds, you get very interesting mathematical results, because it shows the sun is not, 90 miles away or whatever they think it is. It's actually underground or something ridiculous. Depending on where the sun is. But there is actually a way. What he's talking about is like this sort of thing, where they like to do the angles and do the calculations for how far apart the sunlight is, and forgetting that there's a huge amount of distance in the z-axis in those images. Never mind all that. And they like to pretend it shows the sun is local and close, but you get a different figure every time you do this because it depends on where the clouds are and all the other factors. But they don't always look like this. Under very specific conditions, you actually do get parallel crepuscular rays. But I can't find the fucking image for it right now, but it details. But even without that, it just...
Well, I think the easiest way to describe it is stuff like train tracks, how they look like they are angled and converging together if you look at it in a picture. But we know that they're not. We know that they are parallel because you can walk along the frigging things and they never join. You know, so just because it looks a certain way doesn't mean that it is. Our eyes can... Optical illusions are a thing. Our eyes are very easily fooled. And the easiest way to describe it is, you know, just fooled like that sort of angles that parallel lines make when we look at them, like the sides of a road. They're parallel. We know they're parallel, but they look like they're not.
Yeah, and they are constantly screaming at us. You don't understand perspective. Do you?
No.
Right? When we look, we always see them curved. We always see them crepuscular. But he also believed that the Earth was geocentric and we had an infinitely far sun. And so that sun is orbiting around a
Infinitely
minuscule...
far?
Well, infinitely far. Infinitely far being so far away that the rays come in parallel. And that's a whole nother problem. But how is a distant sun orbiting around a speck Earth in the middle of space? That doesn't make sense. And they didn't think about that.
What doesn't make sense? What doesn't make sense about an Earth orbiting a sun? What
No,
you going that doesn't...
No, didn't he say the sun's orbiting around the Earth and that doesn't make sense? Because, yeah, that doesn't make sense. You're right.
Yeah.
Because that's not what is happening.
He's arguing against the geocentric model.
Yeah.
Which he's not debating against. Yes, we agree. Yeah. That's very stupid. Okay. Yeah. What else you got?
You didn't hear me, Dave.
Isn't an argument.
Dave, stop being a dick. Listen to what I said.
You stop being a dick.
The Aristotle...
Yeah, because he's gish galloping. This is what he's doing. He went on from crepuscular rays to then the Earth to speck going to... He's trying to do this. This is what he's trying to do. And then if he interrupts and says, hey, that point's invalid because of this, he goes, oh, you're interrupting and you're being a dick. And it's just like, well, no, you're being incredibly dishonest. Surprise.
Yeah, like it may be the clearest case of shadow boxing that I've ever seen. Like he's like, it's not even a straw man. Like the geocentrism thing, like that's not a straw man of Dave's argument. That's a completely different argument. Okay. Are you gonna, disprove Islam next? Because Professor Dave isn't arguing for that either,
That the Earth was geocentric, that the sun orbited us, but the sun was a distant sun. How does a distant gigantic sun orbit a minuscule speck Earth?
Well,
you have no answer for that.
They don't know. It's the ancient Greeks.
How does a close local sun orbit the Earth? Like this is closer to your model than ours, Flat Dave. What are we talking about here?
They didn't know. Now we know, right? We figured out heliocentrism in like the 16th century. So it was like 500 years ago. It's a pretty long time.
His story makes no sense. And the other question is, you believe that the sun rays that come in are parallel, right?
No, there are rays that are parallel, and then you can point a ray from the edge, one edge of the sun and the other edge. Look, light is going in all directions, right? The sun is expelling light. There's spherical waves of light, photons in every direction. Right, so you can identify parallel rays, and then you can identify one from this edge. And if you want to talk about individual photons, you can draw paths from the edge of the sun going in one direction, the edge of the sun going in the other direction. You're trying to oversimplify things. You're trying to go, oh, it's crepuscular, it's all parallel, and so then this time it works for my talking point, and then another time it doesn't work for my talking point.
My point is Aristophanes' story doesn't make any sense with a distant sun orbiting a geocentric Earth.
Yeah, if you just say it doesn't make sense and stop talking, I guess.
How does a distant sun orbit a geocentric Earth when the Earth is tiny and the sun is gigantic?
Well, no one is arguing that's the case,
no
Dave.
No one's arguing that.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Wowzers.
Like, Dave probably thought, Globe Dave probably thought that he sort of said the Earth is orbiting the sun, but that's not what he's saying. He's saying, how is the sun orbiting the Earth? It's not. You idiot.
And even if Eratosthenes did think that,
Yeah.
the fact that he thought that doesn't mean it was right until we discovered otherwise. Oh my goodness.
Well, it
Doesn't
doesn't.
work in your
Long
model.
story short, it doesn't. But
So
he was
why-
an ancient Greek, and he
No.
didn't know heliocentrism. They didn't know when Newton developed Newton's law of universal gravitation. He didn't know why massive objects attract one another, right? He just said, "This is what happens," and I have this equation, and we use Newton's equations to do all these incredible calculations that predict the motion of objects on Earth and in space. He didn't know what gravity was. Einstein gave a better explanation. The curvature of space-time warped around massive objects. We're probably going to get a better model later. Just that we don't know why things happen doesn't mean we can't do science that predictive power. So as it turns out, Eratosthenes and Ptolemy, the Ptolemaic model, was wrong. Heliocentric model is correct. It doesn't matter that they didn't know that part, or that they didn't know why something happens. Do you not understand how science works?
So if he was wrong and the Earth and the
I love how guy up in the corner,
Just
Sean, I
talking,
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has no idea he's muted. He just keeps trying and nothing happens. I mean, not that I'm one to complain, because I did one show where I went on for 15 minutes muted and had no fucking idea.
I'm amazed I haven't yet, quite frankly. Maybe that's why I keep people around all the time, just so they can tell me when I'm being, an idiot. Basically, that's yeah. Why you need a friend?
It wasn't a whole show beheaded. But yeah, when I finally looked at the live chat, I was like, oh, this is really embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done things like, done recordings. I've gone into I think I went to Praise's room and recorded the whole thing, and there was no audio, and I was like, wow, that's a waste of my time right there. That's a horrible thing to do and not get anything out of.
Technology. I mean, it's what is the phrase that UIT folks use? Problem exists between keyboard and yeah.
Problem exists between keyboard and chair. Yeah. Good old Pepcac.
We're heliocentric. Do you think his experiment proved your globe?
Yeah, it did. All of those experiments proved the globe. It just didn't have anything to do with heliocentrism. It proved the Earth is a sphere.
Absolutely not, because with a local sun, in like the flat Earth is, we have no shadow here, and we have a shadow here, and then you could do your math and figure out what the sphericity of this flat plane is, right?
Okay. So for that to work, how close is the sun?
How close is the sun?
How close is the sun?
Yeah,
really close, like right above the clouds, which we'd be able to see if you went up in a plane or a balloon, and it'd be like right there. Huh?
Hey, there's tons of videos explaining how the sun is an apparent object, and we all see it in a different position.
Oh, there's videos.
We all see it in a different position. So how does that work? And also, we can verify that's not the case. And also, Flat Dave has exactly what we were talking about earlier behind him. He's got 4 sticks with shadows. If the sun is an apparent object that we all see in a different location, how does his experiment work?
And he even shows in that graphic, he shows that it's not a linear progression of angles. It's a like, that explains it perfectly. It's the curve making it not linear. That's exactly what is happening.
Wowzers. Yeah, everybody gets a sun. The entire Earth is bathed in infinite radiation.
That reminds me of Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, who basically says everyone has their individual sun, including animals and stuff. So we're talking trillions of personal suns. It is madness.
Apparently, CC, the flat earther, they all say that, they're all doing their own thinking, but they all say the same things. Very strange.
That say dumb things.
No,
so
no,
it's true.
That show science, show experiments, and when you try to triangulate the sun, there's a problem. You can't do it. You can't triangulate the sun. So how far the sun is? Some flat earthers say it's 3,000 miles away? I don't like that answer. The math works. We can scale it and make it
The
6,000
math
miles
works.
away.
You've never done any math in your entire life. You
Hey,
just
hey,
say
Dave,
the
Dave,
math
stop,
works
stop
and expect
saying,
people to.
just stop being a condescending prick, all right? Try.
Why
Try
don't
for
you
2
stop
minutes.
condescending to the entire human race and pretending that every scientist ever is a liar and satanic deceiver? That's much more offensive than me calling you stupid, which you
Dave,
are.
Dave, what is the sun?
What is the sun? It's a star.
It's a star. It's a
It's a
burning.
star.
It's a nuclear furnace
No, it's not
that's
burning.
working perfectly,
Mm.
and it's bending space-time where it could hold on to all of the planets that go all the way out to Pluto. Is that your belief?
Well, Pluto's now a trans-Neptunian
All right,
object.
So we'll go
But
Neptune.
yes,
We'll go,
yes.
all right, and then the sun's gravity ignores all of the moons because the moons are attracted to their planets, and it
No,
negates
it
the sun.
doesn't. It doesn't ignore the moons. What are you talking about?
Oh my goodness.
It's just that the moons are a lot closer to the objects that they're in orbit around. What is he talking about? The sun ignores the moons. If the sun's gravity ignores the moon, what the hell?
Yeah, we actually we got a cool demonstration of this a few years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, the moon missions, the Saturn V rockets, they had many stages, and the first stage separated and burned up in the Earth's atmosphere because it was still close and whatever. But one of the later stages, second stage, third stage, I forget which one, it got ejected in that area between the Earth and the moon. So it orbited the Earth for a little while, but then it happened to pass through the Lagrange 1 point, and it exited through that point, and it went into stellar orbit. It was no longer beholden to the Earth, and fine, whatever. But then a few years ago, our orbital paths happened to line up in such a way that it passed through the L1 gateway again and was back in Earth orbit, which demonstrates that when you're within, you know, the Earth's sphere of influence, even though the sun is still there, it's holding on to the Earth,
Mhm.
you're now in an Earth-dominated area, so you orbit the Earth. It's
And the sun, like, because of the way that gravity works, it's that it doesn't have as much attraction towards objects of less mass, just like the Earth doesn't have as much attraction towards objects of less mass. So it's distance and the mass of the object. So if something's smaller than the sun, but something's really close to it, gravity will have more of an effect than a larger body that's a lot further away.
yeah, it's pretty neat. You can actually graph it. It's actually pretty fascinating. You know, when you get the three-dimensional graph paper thing where the sun is like a bowling ball making a dent in space, and the Earth makes a smaller dent, but it does have its own dent. The dent is lodged in the side of the sun's dent, and the moon is inside the Earth's dent, so it rolls around inside the Earth's dent. It's so neat.
Yep.
That's what you believe.
What do you mean negates the sun?
Yeah.
So
negates the sun.
moons. So what you're saying is that like one of Jupiter's
I'm
moons
asking
should go
you.
flying towards the sun?
I'm
Is
not
that what you're
that.
saying?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm asking you if you believe that the sun's gravity has no effect on moons.
Yeah, it had. You can calculate. You can see. This is what real scientists and people who understand science can do calculations. So instead of you going, I don't believe it, what you could do is you could take Newton's law of universal gravitation and take a moon, whatever moon, if you want to talk about our moon or one of Mars's or one of Jupiter's or whatever, and you could calculate a number that is the gravitational attraction between the sun and whatever moon you're talking about. And then you could do the same thing for the moon and its parent planet that it is orbiting. Which number do you think is going to be bigger, buddy? Which one do you think is going to be bigger?
And so
The
when we have-
planet, the one that.
So
I love the condescension.
Yeah, and the graphic in the back, it's got like, that is not to scale. Like the sun is so much further away. Like it's just that they don't think in terms of how the scientists are describing it. That they have no actual, they don't visualize things properly. They see a picture in a book and they go, oh, that's exactly how it is. No, that's just giving you an idea. You actually have to think about these things and visualize them. It's madness. It's madness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these are the same people who will complain about, oh, you believe in lines on paper. Like, you know, the moon is it's so much closer to Earth than to the sun.
Yeah.
As far as the sun's concerned, we're the same object. We're a co-planet, you know?
Yeah. It's to moon.
That it is orbiting around.
So
We have a
yeah, though on average the difference between the Earth and Moon are about 150 million kilometers. And how far is it to the sun?
93
distance.
million miles. So, what
Yeah,
is it?
how much to the sun?
150 million kilometers, give or take? No, that's probably wrong. I'm not trusting my math coprocessor. I'll just look it up.
Okay.
Far is the sun in... I mean, it's one astronomical unit. 151.62 million kilometers. Hey, my brain isn't that far off. Good job,
Nice.
brain.
Oh, I couldn't do that. It's too early for math calculations.
I remember that the conversion is 5 kilometers to 3.1 miles because I used to do a lot of 5K races and 10Ks and 15Ks. But yeah, it's 3.1. Yeah.
Yeah, divided by 384. Yeah, so it's about 395 times the distance away. Right? The sun is about, almost 400 times the distance between us and the moon. So your little picture there where they're, it's like almost equal is so frigging wrong. Like,
it's roughly 1/4%.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
planetary alignment where all the planets are lining up. All of that gravity.
Hang on. You know what? Sorry. I would like you to actually just address what I just said, because this is what happens is I say something, or a flat earth debunker like myself says something that just annihilates the idiotic thing you just said, and then you just gish gallop to another point. I would like you to admit that what you just said is stupid based on what I just said.
Repeat what you said.
He wasn't even listening. Yeah, he's not even listening. It's not even listening. It's he hears something and just goes on. And Globe Dave's got a point, right? He's basically saying, hey, instead of, like, they say something, they'll say, well, how does this work? He'll explain it, and then they'll just pivot to something else. And I've noticed this as well. It's maddening that they just go to, well, what about this other thing? And they've just got a million of these lined up that Globe Dave's going to have to explain the entire working of everything. And in those debates yourself, if you don't get everything right, or you don't know the answer to something, it's, aha, I gotcha. It's kind of this, well, you've got to explain absolutely everything, while they explain nothing. Flatzoid is famous for doing this. He tries to just dominate with, how does this work? How does this work? How does this work? Without actually explaining anything himself. And it's very hard to get him back onto the topic of, well, how do lunar eclipse work? How does this work? How does a total solar eclipse work? How does this work? And he won't actually answer it. Who was it? Austin Whitsitt used to go, well, I'm not making a positive claim. And that's where they get the, well, I'm a globe skeptic, not a flat earth promoter kind of thing, so I don't have to explain anything. No, that's not how this works.
Yeah, and it's actually a tactic. It's a stratagem. It's taught, it's learned, it's studied, and it's the reason we cover a variety of these things: flat Earth and young Earth creation and transphobes. They're all doing the same thing. It's all fundamentally apologetics, and they all do it the same way. I don't have a model. I'm not making a positive claim. I'm not defending something. I'm just saying you're wrong because you personally don't know all of human knowledge, and therefore my position wins by default. All of them do the same thing in the same way.
Yep.
Just explain to you why what you said about the sun and the moon is stupid. and
well,
you just jump to another talking point.
So you say that the gravity of the planet is holding on to these moons.
Yeah.
It's so much stronger. Let me finish. I'm reiterating what you're saying to show you how stupid it is. It's holding on to the planets, but the sun's gravity, it can hold on to the planets, hold on to distant planets, but can't affect those moons at all.
Can't affect, like I just said, you can do a calculation. Did you want to do the calculation? Do you want to do it together? Do you want to learn something today? It's called
David,
Newton's law of universal gravitation. Do you know what is in the denominator? R squared. It drops off, gravity drops off by the square of the distance. So as things get very, very far away, their gravitational influence is dramatically less, exponentially so. So when you have a moon that is right near a planet, the gravitational effect is way more than the faraway sun.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Gravity isn't a geometric relationship either. Just like light, the inverse square law applies, which means when the distance is nearly 400 times greater, that doesn't mean the gravity is just 400 times weaker.
Correct.
It means you have to square that. So it's 1,600 times weaker. Holy shit.
Yes.
Isn't that neat? Isn't that a neat thing that we can do with math and numbers that are real things that scientists do instead of just going, it doesn't make sense, so that's dumb.
You done?
Yeah. What do you got? Do you want to address this thing or do you want to jump right to another thing?
I want to jump to something else because you say that the sun's gravity that can hold on
to...
At least he admits it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to jump now.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything for this. I'm going to jump to something else because it's not like Globe Dave has made this up. You know, this has been around since Newton's time, the inverse sort of square law. It's been around for ages. And we can do calculations on it. And we can measure it with stuff like the Cavendish experiment by varying the distance to the masses. Like, it's not something that we've just... This has been worked on for literal centuries. And you're coming along and going, oh, well, I think it's, you know, it doesn't seem right to me that there's this sun that can hold the Earth, but it doesn't grab the moons. That's stupid.
Yeah, and we can, there is an effect, we can see it, we can measure it. Like, you know, the moon has an elliptical orbit. I mean, everything has elliptical orbits to some degree or another, but the moon's, it varies because of the influence of the sun. Like, we can see the effect, and we've measured it to such precision that we're able to calculate when eclipses will happen to the second. Like, not only are we aware of it, we've gotten it down pretty damn accurately.
I got to say, I hate that Jim Bob's question is just sitting down the bottom the entire time. It's fucking stupid. Like, I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, I think the host kept trying to bring it up as you know, the way he's inserting talking points, but he still hasn't figured out he's muted, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like, it drives me nuts too. Like, when you try to bring up a super chat, and sometimes the guest gets off on a rant, and so you can't address it right away. And then you take it down and you bring it back up when you have a chance to actually ask it or something. But just leaving it up there, like, come on, my guy. We could time that. It's probably been up there like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Come on,
Neptune
folks.
and Pluto can't affect the moon, which is way closer to it, and that the Earth's gravity overwhelms that. That's stupid. That's me saying it.
Why?
You're the
all you're saying is that's stupid. All you're saying is that's stupid.
And all
Why?
you're saying is that it works because I could do math, but it doesn't. It doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't?
Hey, model it. You ever know about the three-body problem? I'm sure you know about that.
Oh, the three-body problem. So we can't do calculations.
Stop being such a condescending prick. We already know. Just talk normal. Have a discussion.
Sorry, hang on one second. This is serious. This private chat keeps covering the screen. Can this stop? Why is this doing?
You're a prophet, Mark.
Yeah.
Like, you say it, and then Dave brings it up. It's crazy. It's like we have a transcript or something. I mean, gotten a transcript.
It's kind of annoying that it's just sitting there, you know, like.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Doing this. The private chat.
Yeah.
Like,
it shouldn't cover the chat, should it? Just trying to make sure everything's all right.
Covering the whole screen. All right. Anyway,
hang on. Yes, we're sorting it out. There seems to be a problem.
Oh, maybe they're talking about they're in Zoom
private
or
chat.
something.
Yeah.
I heard him say private chat, but I assumed he meant super chat because it's covering part of the screen.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh well.
Sean's. I can't hear you, Sean.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what's going on. I've been watching Sean every now and then, just chatting away, and we've not been hearing him. There's tons of important snippets of information lost forever to the ethers of the internet. How are you guys doing? There's a lot of back and forth, isn't there? It's a very, dare I say it, American debate, isn't it? It's insults and stuff.
Well, here's the thing. I would like to get off of the lights in the sky because I'd rather talk about the shape of the Earth.
Because they destroy the flat Earth?
Well, you say that, but the lights in the sky have nothing to do with the flat Earth.
Okay, so this was my first talking point. Were we going to do the talking points that we prepared? Because my first talking point is about this, and it is an absolute annihilation of flat Earth. That's why you don't want to talk about it. That's why you say, why do we look at the things in the sky to figure out the shape of the Earth? Because that's how we figured it out 2,000 years ago, by looking at the stars. Can I show my slide that shows this?
Go for it.
There we go. Yay, presentations and things.
Yeah, it's a very weird debate. I mean, basically there were no introductions at all. Like even in an informal kind of debate, there's usually an introduction to it or some kind of statement made on your position. It was just, it's like a Q&A with people. It's like more of a panel with two people than a debate kind of thing. It's very weird. It's a weird one.
Yeah, it's pretty strange, but it's also like, we heard that from Flatzoid, from others. You can't look at the stars to figure out the shape of the ground or whatever. But when you ask them about, okay, how do you know about the shape of the ground then? They're like, oh, we don't have a model. What do you want from me? Like, well, what are you presenting then? My goodness. Well, we can see too far. Can you make a prediction with that?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Observation of the stars. Next one. Can you? You're controlling it, right? Do I just tell you when to go? Okay, so if you're in the northern hemisphere looking at the North Pole, then hang on. All this stuff is covering. I can't even see the text. I think I remember what it says. Anyway, if you're looking at the North Pole in the northern hemisphere, the stars rotate counterclockwise. Go to the next one. If you were in the southern hemisphere looking at the South Pole, the stars rotate
I think this
clockwise.
is devastating. This is my favorite go-to for. Other people have different ones that their favorite go-to. Some people go to say surveying, like geodesic surveying. I think that the circumpolar star rotation is absolutely deadly. It cannot happen on a flat Earth. There is no possible way the southern hemispheric rotation can occur on a flat Earth. And Kyle, who I've debated, said, oh, but if you look at something from the other side, it looks like it's going the other way. That would mean that you'd have to be on the other side of the stars. How does that work?
Yeah, other side of the stars or other side of the coin, in a coin Earth or pizza, whatever. I have a similar one that I really enjoy, which is, photographers, they'll use a celestial mount so that they can get photos of the galaxy, long exposures, which are hard to do because the Earth keeps turning underneath the galaxy. So you need it calibrated just right so it'll stay locked on the specific stars you want as the Earth turns. And from these mid-latitudes, like where I am, around 43 degrees latitude, the Earth, it doesn't just turn east to west. It also kind of pans while it's at it because of the inclination. And so when you have, if you do a video instead or a series of exposures to make a time lapse, you end up with, the galaxy is here in a straight line, and the Earth kind of comes up and to the side. And you can't do that without rotation. That isn't just the dome of the sky spinning around. It's also rotating in the other direction, too. And it just, there's no explanation for it other than, reality.
How does this make sense on a flat Earth? Sorry, this is a screenshot from one of my videos. So in the video, they're rotating in different directions. Why would two people on a flat pizza land look at the sky and see a sky that is rotating in different ways? Next one. And furthermore, why can't we all see the same stars? There are
Well, the same reason we all have our own unique individual sun, right? If we all have our own unique sun, why not our own unique stars? Even though we can all agree on the same constellations, but never mind that.
Yeah, never mind. But the better one is
Stars that
the
you
Southern Cross. Like, why can me and somebody in South Africa look south and see the Southern Cross at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Both
In
looking
two
south.
different directions.
Mm-hmm. Opposite
Sorcery.
directions. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if we can all see the same things at the same time in vastly different directions, then why don't we all see the sun at all times, even in the far distance?
And I
Very
think this
curious.
is a good point to mention the final experiment, because there is no way to explain a 24-hour sun in the sky on this flat Earth model. There is no possible way to make that work, because the sun would have to be like basically a donut around the edge of the Earth. Like, I don't even know how that would work.
Yeah, there's already people making noises about how they're going to replace the sun with a sun simulator to fake it, just for the experiment. Because we're just going to turn off the sun and replace it with a simulator. We can do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you can only see in the northern towards the northern hemisphere, and stars you can only see in the southern hemisphere. Next one. On a globe, this makes perfect sense. If you're in the northern hemisphere looking at the North Pole, east is to your right. If you were in the southern hemisphere looking at the South Pole, east is to your left. Next one. And the reason we can't see certain stars is because you can't see through the Earth. Next one. That's why in the northern hemisphere we can't see the Southern Cross. That's why in the southern hemisphere we can't see Polaris. Next one.
That
Quick
needs
one.
some clarification. It's under a certain amount of latitude that we can't see. Like in the southern hemisphere, if you're just below the equator, you can still see it. But yeah.
Yeah, in general terms. Similarly,
Yeah,
the Southern Cross isn't directly over the pole, so there's a little bit of the northern
Yep.
hemisphere you can see it near the
Yeah,
horizon,
yeah.
but details.
Here. So it actually gets a lot worse than that in the
Yeah,
southern hemisphere
this
because
is-
you've taken a globe.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, and I've used something similar to this in my debates because it makes no sense. And not only that, it gets even worse because you can communicate with somebody in South Africa or somebody in Argentina, like in South America, and you can both see the Southern Cross at the same time. Like if it is really or just say Perth and South Africa, right? They're close enough together that if it is late night in Perth, where I am, and say early morning in South Africa, you can both look and see the same Southern Cross, both looking south. So how the hell does that work?
Sorcery.
And then
It's a
Well, then we
magnetic
do the-
declination or something.
And then we do the calculations for what angle are you seeing them, what point are you seeing it, and it all makes sense on a oblate spheroid. It makes perfect sense that all of those angles line up. On a flat Earth, you can't even trivially make it make sense. Like, you can't. It doesn't even make a lick of sense to begin with.
That is the best unit of measurement for sense.
A lick.
Mhm.
Certainly isn't a Hovend.
Not even a millihovend.
Millihovend,
And you've
yeah.
unwrapped it. The southern hemisphere makes absolutely no sense. People in the southern hemisphere who are all looking at the Southern Cross are somehow supposed to be, we're believing that they're all looking in completely different directions and seeing the same object often at the same time. Next one.
No, there's no mods at all.
Wow. It's just, what the hell is going on over there? This.
Yeah. Also, Georgia Guidestones proof flat Earth.
How?
Interesting. That'll be a
What
fun.
What are Georgia Guidestones?
Oh, have you not heard of these? They got blowed up a few years ago. So
Oh,
you
yeah,
may have
I
missed them.
see it. They got blowed up.
Yep.
What?
They were some rich anonymous PM, New World Order person put up these fake Stonehenge-like things that said in, I think it was 8 different languages, instructions for how to rebuild the Earth after an apocalypse. And
right.
one of them, and the reason it's a New World Order conspiracy is because it says something like keep your population under 500 million. And so people read that and they go, eugenics. They're going to, kill 7.5 billion people. But the rest of it, I mean, it is kind of monstrous, but it does make it clear that this is what to do after an apocalypse, like the Earth gets struck by a giant asteroid or something. But whatever, somebody blew them up, so it's not a problem anymore.
Right?
Yeah.
So it read, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Unite humanity with a living new language. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things tempered with reason. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. Balance personal rights with social duties. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature, leave room for nature. That nothing in that is horrible.
I mean,
no,
that's
nothing
fair.
In that. It's horrible. I mean, maintain humanity under 500 million. I get that could lead to the one child policy, which was pretty awful. I get what they're saying though. None of it is inherently awful. I think that there would be some really awful routes to implementing something like that, but none of it is really awful.
Yeah, I think that's the problem is the goals sound good on paper, but how do you actually go about doing them?
Right.
Like, how do you control the population and govern reproduction wisely? Or even the unite everyone under a single language. Like that sounds great for communication purposes, but there's a couple of big drawbacks. Whose language, who picks, how do you enforce it? And also, as we know from our own histories, diversity is a strength, and this applies to languages too, because there are concepts, there are words, there are phrases in some languages that don't exist in other languages. And if we try to delete all the other languages, then we end up with a limitation on the capabilities of human thought.
Yeah, I guess so. And that,
us.
So I suppose that second one, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. I guess it's like, what do you mean by fitness in that case? Like, if you mean evolutionarily speaking, we don't know what is beneficial or not. So, yeah, no, that's a fair point. I didn't really think about that one too much. I'll be honest with you. And plus, like, resolve disputes in a world court. Like, is the court going to be fair? I don't know. Maybe I just like the idea of be not a cancer on the earth. That's good advice. Good advice. Yeah. Don't kill your host, people. Don't kill your host. It's a bad idea.
Yep, low survival probability. This is why bacteria are stupid. Right now, people who are friends with me on Facebook are aware I have an active tooth infection that is trying its damnedest to kill me. And antibiotics are keeping the infection at bay, but they're not actually solving the problem, which is why I keep chomping painkillers like candy. The bacteria are stupid. They're trying to kill me. If they do, they're gonna die too.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get to kill them first, but whatever. It's bacteria aren't bright. They don't have culture. They don't have language. So, I see them moving.
Slide.
Okay, there. Dave hasn't realized there's no hosts.
It might be that because
There
Ash
we
is
go.
doing this. Oh, has he done it? Has it worked?
Yeah, that's it. I think this is the last one. So again, on a globe, south actually means something. People who are looking south are all looking at the South Pole. They're all looking in the same direction. So that's why they all see the same thing. such as an object like the Southern Cross.
All right, can you go
I
back
think
to
that's
the
the last one.
Let me
Oh,
go through the
just
slides. Let me
check if
go,
it's the next one.
Yeah.
Check if it's the last one.
and if you can go back to the first one, that would be great.
Yeah, so in Terry Pratchett's Discworld novels, where the world actually is a pizza, they don't use north and south. They use hubward and I think anti-hubward.
No, it's rimwise.
Rimwise, that's it. And no east and west. It's spinward and anti-spinward, and it just
No, it's spinward and widdershins.
oh Widdershin. It's been a while since I read the books. Clearly, my brain
Yeah,
is not
I'm
reliable.
a huge fan. I will never forget that. I'm a huge fan. So I just like that they use widdershins, which is like an old English thing about that actually means counterclockwise. Yeah.
Yeah, same rotational. Before there were clocks, it's that old.
Yes.
Yeah, I first encountered it when I was learning about Wicca and things. People are like, "Oh, you have to go around the circle 3 times Widdershins." I'm like, "The fuck does
Yeah.
that mean?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Fern's got it. It makes one think of Wiccan silliness. It's
Actually, widdershins sounds like an awesome like D&D character, like a halfling thief called widdershins. You know, like
nice. Yeah.
come on now, it does, doesn't it? It really does sound.
Mm-hmm. This here's my little buddy Widdershins. Don't fuck with him. He has a sharp knife.
Widdershins should backstab you.
Oh my goodness! But the point is,
on the same note, if you do like Dungeons and Dragons, tune into my Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough with Justin, where I am playing a gnomish wizard by the name of Bulgin Britches, which is just delightful. Good old Bulgin.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff. Justin, of course, being the same Justin, Yahooligan, Electric Boy Scout, who was just on for an interview last Sunday, and runs the Skeptic Spin. Hey, more spin. Yeah, Skeptic Spin channel. I had to think about it because he just rebranded and opened a Discord. So, you know, that's a thing to look out for too. Yeah. lot of tangents. The reason I mentioned the Terry Pratchett's Discworld is there isn't a need to use terms like north and south because there aren't poles, because it's a disc. And why would we have south if it just meant rimward? We would just say rimward.
So in your world, we have people standing upside down, and you're assuming hemispheres on a sphere.
What do you mean upside down? What do you mean upside down? What does that mean?
Compare their feet are antipodal to my feet. People in the south.
Okay, so yours are upside down compared to them. What's the difference? What's down on a globe?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying people are upside down to each other halfway across the world. So if we can go back to the original slide, so I can remember all the points he made, so I can address them, that would be fantastic.
I think the issue is that Ash, the producer, is having some issues with his internet and isn't able to do it. Sorry about this, guys. We're usually quite good with the tech and everything.
So
yeah,
I'll try to.
I can tell you the points again.
I'd rather just see the points rather than hear you say them again.
Okay.
If the, I don't know, he can't change it back.
I don't think so. He's in like the Philippines or something mad like that. So he's having some difficulties with it, and I think Sean is as well. Good thing I'm here, saving the day.
Okay, look, it was that in the northern hemisphere, the celestial sphere rotates counterclockwise. In the southern hemisphere, it rotates clockwise, and we can't see certain stars.
Yeah, you don't have to do the whole presentation. You can just remind.
That was it. Go ahead.
So no matter where you are in the world, all of the stars, all the lights in the sky from the things that we call planets, wandering stars, sun and moon, they all rise in the east, set in the west. If I'm standing on a flat Earth looking out to the south, the stars are coming from my left. If I'm standing in the north looking at the north, the stars are coming from my right. That explains the opposite direction.
No, you just explained the globe model. You didn't explain anything else.
You don't understand.
On the flat Earth, how do people see the sky rotating in different directions?
Because
explain
you're
that.
Facing in different directions, David.
What do you mean facing in different directions?
I will explain. If I'm
wait, hang on. Speaking of facing in different directions, Flat Earth Dave, because we've changed the angles bit, you're a bit off the screen. That's it.
I got it. It would be better if you can make me widescreen so I can show what I'm showing.
Show the stupid slides in the background. It always kind of annoys me when people do that.
So
it doesn't really annoy me that much. It just is like, you just want to get extra information, and it's basically like a dog whistle to your audience. You're going to put up a thing like Ken Hovind does it. He puts up his slides in the background. He thinks that makes a more convincing case. It really doesn't.
I have graphics. I'm more writer. Or something like that. Yeah. But it's even better in Flat Dave's case because it's literally in the background. It's behind him, so he's blocking some of it. It's, oh my goodness.
And plus it says that it's so stupid a thing. Georgia Guidestones prove flat Earth. What the hell? I don't know what the Georgia Guidestones have anything to do with the shape of the Earth whatsoever.
Well, it's extra hilarious. So there was like a pinhole in the Guidestones that always, if you look through it, you'd always see Polaris, which
Right.
proved that Polaris is the pole star currently.
Mhm.
How that proves flat Earth, who the fuck knows? But also, wasn't Dave just saying you can't look at the sky to prove the ground? And here he is. Look at Polaris, though.
Guess he'll be back when he can. But for now, you
So-
keep going.
So on a flat Earth, if we have a flat Earth, north is to the center, south is every direction away from the center. So if the stars are going this way from my right shoulder to left shoulder, I'm looking at the North Star, they're going one way. When I turn around and I look at the south away from the center, they're coming from my left shoulder to my right shoulder. They just change directions. Okay, there's no argument there. There's nothing to argue. That works.
Okay, now do clockwise and counterclockwise,
Well, it
because
doesn't
that's really
matter.
what we're talking about. What do you mean it
Again-
doesn't matter?
Again,
You're
David,
talking about a direction. I'm talking about clockwise versus counterclockwise
And-
when you're looking at the
and Dave,
poles.
the optics
the
of the sky.
poles.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, you say the poles. So getting back to your point where you have somebody in Santiago, somebody in Johannesburg, and somebody in Australia, when they see the Southern Cross, well, they don't see it at the same time. They see it 12 hours apart from Santiago.
They don't see it at the same time, so
And so
people
they
looking
can.
south can't see.
They can see it at the same time. Like if it is nighttime in Perth and it's sort of just dawn in South Africa, they can see it at the same time. Because here's the thing, mate, night sort of covers a area of the Earth. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, rather famously, approximately half of the globe at any given moment. It's so weird. And that's
Weird,
another
right?
one. Yeah. It's another area that, like, Professor Dave didn't bring up, but it does get brought up in Flat Earth debates because it's catastrophic to their idea of how the Earth works, is how the hell can it be nighttime in Perth and Johannesburg at the same time when the sun is in the middle of the damn day? The sunlight ends up being like a weird kidney bean shape in order
Yeah.
to dodge around the areas of nighttime, but illuminate distant areas in the south, and it's really silly.
Mm-hmm.
See the night sky at the same time?
David, if you
Mhm.
understand what the flat Earth model is, if somebody's in Santiago,
You don't have a
and-
model.
listen.
Yeah.
Stop being.
No,
a dick.
okay, so I'm
Yeah,
going
you
to push
stop, yeah.
back on that. They have a model. Just because a model is completely useless, vague, and ill-defined, completely ill-defined, it's still a model. Their model consists of Earth flat, herp derp. That's their model. It's still a model. It just is so vague and useless and inaccurate that it's almost a useless model. Yeah, it's a low bar. I got you. I hear you. It's a low bar. We wouldn't call it a model in science, but if I say, hey, the Earth is a donut Earth, it's still a model. It's just I have not fleshed out, or I haven't even begun to flesh out that model.
Yeah, I think the reason is because a lot of them say, when you challenge them on it, what's your model? Can you make a prediction? They go, oh, we don't have a model. So
Right.
it's the fact they deny there's a model. Well, some of them do. We can't monolithize them because none of them believe the same things. So
Yeah.
it's so hard to pin down because they do their
Yeah.
best to make it unfalsifiable. Because if it were falsifiable, it's already falsified, and they're wrong,
Mhm.
and they don't like it because the consequences. Often it means, from their point of view, the Bible is false, and they can't have that. The whole reason they argue flat Earth is it's a Mott and Bailey thing. We got this
Yeah.
from Flatzoid and Jim. They both believe the Earth is flat because they believe the Bible. And they want to argue flat Earth because as long as we're talking about the shape of the Earth, we're not talking about the Bible. And that's the entire point.
Yeah. Didn't you was it you in the debate somebody sort of said, or was it me? I can't even remember. Like somebody was like, "Oh, did your model go to fashion school or something?" They were talking the model like
Yeah, that was Jim.
model.
It was
That was
really
it
weird.
was so bizarre. It was so bizarre. Like, is the model your girlfriend? It's like what? I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I used to be a professional photographer, so every time he tried to make that conflation, I'm like, I've worked with models, but what does that have to
What?
do with the price of tea
Yeah.
in China, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. As Johnny says, is the model in the room?
Yeah.
with us? Oh shit! I had a graphic. Oh, a while back, I came up with a graphic. I took like the green M&M and I replaced the oval M&M with the flat Earth pizza planet thing, and I said,
Nice.
"Behold, there's finally a flat Earth model." Oh, where did I put that thing? Oh my goodness!
Being a dick.
It's
Your
not-
entire existence is being a dick to
Hey,
all of science. So stop telling me to stop being a dick.
Keep going.
Mhm.
So somebody's in Santiago and it's midnight. They're looking at the Southern Cross. Well, somebody in Australia that's looking south, they're looking at the noon sun. You tell me how they can
Noon
see the
sun?
star-
How
the noon
many
sun.
how many time zones apart are they? Are they 12 time zones apart?
Well,
If everybody gets their own sun, why isn't it
Yeah.
always noon for everyone?
I don't know.
Very peculiar.
noon, close to
Okay.
noon, right?
Okay,
So-
no, first of all, not close to noon, but it doesn't matter. How about you go 4 hours apart? Why don't you go 4 time zones apart? They should still be looking in completely different directions. 12 midnight, 4 a.m., night sky, both looking south, both can see the Southern Cross. On your pizza world should be looking in completely different directions. Explain that.
Dave, when the only time that can happen is in Johannesburg and Santiago, and if you add magnetic declination in there, they're both looking in the same direction.
Magnetic declination.
What the hell is he talking about?
We hear that one from time to time too. Austin tried to explain it once, but he
Yeah.
got so lost in word salad, even he couldn't follow it. I'm just gonna Google it and see what comes up. Magnetic declination. So Google says, most places on Earth's surface, the compass doesn't point exactly towards geographic north. The deviation of the compass from true north, is an angle called declination. And because it's the Earth's magnetic field, you could call it magnetic declination. So all that means is how far off your compass is from true north. That's it. That's all that is.
So
Wow.
you think just saying the word magnet is going to be an argument here? That's going to work for you?
Look up the magnetic declinations of those areas. You don't know what direction you're facing, right? There's certain areas of Antarctica that the magnetic declination is 170 degrees. So when your compass says north is that way, it's 170 degrees the other way, according to NOAA or whoever's in charge of that, right?
Look, you can dress it up however you want. We're talking about looking this way and looking that way, and they see the same thing. And you're fixating on Santiago and Johannesburg because you think that they're far enough apart that they're not going to both be nighttime. I'm telling you, you can go any distance apart. Just go from Perth to Sydney, right? That's far enough apart that if you're both looking directly south, you're looking in different directions, and you can see the same thing. You cannot explain that. That's why you're trying to throw out jargon to confuse people.
I'm not trying to throw out jargon to confuse people, David.
That's exactly what you're doing.
When you're looking towards the same area. You're looking towards the same area.
But on your pizza world, south is a different direction for every longitude line. Do you not understand that? On your pizza land, right? You have all these longitude lines. Directly south is towards your magic ice wall. Everybody looking south is looking in a different direction.
Magic ice wall.
So this is actually kind of interesting. I wanted to challenge that 170 degrees claim. So I punched up a map that shows the magnetic declination. Now, this actually does change because the magnetic poles shift around a bit. But as of 2020, this is what it looked like. And these bright green lines are where the compasses are dead on true, right? And they go all the way up to 90 degrees off. And what's fascinating is these little stars at the centers of these webs are where the magnetic pole is. So, you know, the North Magnetic Pole is in the middle of the Arctic Ocean. No surprise there. The South Magnetic Pole is completely off of Antarctica and is heading towards Australia. So, Mark is currently closer to the South Magnetic Pole than parts of Antarctica are. And that's kind of neat. But also, some of these red lines that go a positive deviation eastward up to 90 degrees go right into the magnetic pole. So you could be standing, you know, just to the right of the southern magnetic pole and have your compass be 90 degrees off. It's wild. I don't know. I just find it fascinating. But yeah, it's also interesting how the eastward deviation, the red stuff, is always on the one side of the green line, and everything on the other side of the green line, all of it is blue, which is deviation westward.
Yeah.
And you can get up to negative 90 on that one also, but apparently only in Antarctica. Because it only goes, oh, no, there's a minus 90 up here in the north, too. So, whatever. I stand corrected. But then there's these other interesting zones. Like right here, there's a little bit of deviation near the pole in this little node over Siberia. And then there's a node over Yukon territory that does the same thing in the other direction. You'd expect it to be on the other side of the planet, but it's on the same hemisphere on the other side of the Bering Sea. Like if we could pan the map a bit, you'd see they're actually relatively close to each other. It's so trippy. I just found that fascinating, so I thought I'd share.
But there's no amount of magnetic declination that could account for someone in Sydney and somebody in Cape Town looking south and seeing the same stars. I just did time it because he said that the only time you have those places at night is in Santiago and some other thing, and that's completely untrue. Perth, if it's 4 a.m. in Perth, it's 10 p.m. in Cape Town. Guess what, Dave? Guess what, Flat Dave? They're both at nighttime. 4 a.m. in one place and 10 p.m. in another is both nighttime.
Yeah, and I dare say.
I don't know what he's talking about. Like, he just says this stuff without even checking it to see whether it's true.
I mean, well, that is sort of the thing with flat earthers and all sorts of apologists is you just make shit up.
Yeah.
I mean, if they didn't do that, they wouldn't be in business, and but also we wouldn't have anything to complain about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stop trying to
I'd
skip
be
to something
happy
else.
to
right?
stop reviewing flat earthers if flat earthers stop being absolute liars and shills, and like if flat earthers would go away tomorrow, I'd be happy that I didn't have anything to review.
But the flip side is, like, if they stopped being liars, they'd also have to stop being flat earthers.
Got a lot of flirt.
Mm-hmm.
Are you denying that longitude lines, everybody on your pizza world is all looking in a completely different direction when they look out?
NASA or NOAA, they tell us, what longitude lines you're talking about. They tell us that the magnetic declination is a different direction. So we're listening.
Do they, or are you just randomly grasping at words to try to make sense of something that is absolutely unexplainable for you?
Well, he didn't answer the question as well. The question is, do the longitude lines of Earth all point in different directions in space? That's essentially what we want to know. Or do they converge like on the globe? Because all of the longitude lines on the globe model converge into one point, and that's the poles. And that works perfectly on a globe.
Yeah. Yeah, like Dave's argument is, well, compasses are unreliable, so you can't tell which direction you're facing. You can, though. Like, the sun rises in the east, that's in the west. So now we've pinned down east and west. Yeah. And then when you have east and west, this way's north, so that
Mhm.
way's south. Just don't consult a compass and you're fine. Oh, but I forgot about the personal sun, so who knows where the fuck the sun rises?
Yeah, who knows?
The optics in the sky, again, do not prove the shape of the Earth. You say
Well,
that they
I
do.
just did prove
They-
it with
they-
that, so I don't know what to tell you.
Let's move on.
So
Oh,
I'm
do you
sorry,
wanna
sorry
move
guys.
Jump to
Yeah,
another
you want
point.
to move on? Yeah.
Do you
Sorry
want to
guys,
move on
my entire
from this
system
thing?
crashed.
I want to move on from looking
you
at the
hear me,
lights in the sky to
Andrew?
figure out. Yeah, we hear you.
Because I
Go on.
proved the Earth is a sphere by using that. Is that why you want to move on?
No, not at all.
Well,
we hear you, we don't care.
It is.
What,
though.
what talking point?
We hear you, but we don't care.
What talking point are we on right now?
let's-
I just finished proving the Earth is a sphere by looking at stars, something that we've been doing for thousands of years.
Yeah, so says you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and everybody who's ever lived. So NASA isn't gonna really help you with that one. Sorry, buddy. They started in the 1950s.
All right, so we've got a talk.
That's a solid point too. Like there's the whole conspiracy requires NASA to have been messing with things literally forever. But it's only been around since 1953-ish.
Yeah, that's when they bust out the Freemasons and Illuminati and Templars and whatever, other secret society that's been around since the dawn of time, i.e. Adam and Eve, that's working for Satan. Yeah, it becomes just a rabbit hole of conspiracy at that point. But it's interesting that NASA, it wasn't originally NASA. It was originally Aeronautics Agency. It was just I can't remember what it was originally called, but it was basically just for flight. Like they didn't start off as NASA. That's the thing. It originally was a aviation government aviation organization. So they before we learnt about space, they were originally learnt about space, or rather we had the capacity to go into space. They were just doing flight stuff.
NASA was 1958.
Yeah, but it came off some other agency. It was formed from some other agency. NACA, National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. That was it.
Aha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always thought it was weird they had the aeronautics in there. I'm like, they must have changed the name from something else and just kept a legacy bit.
Yeah.
But also, randomly, while I was trying to look that up, I got some additional data. Eratosthenes, 3rd century BCE. Before that, in the 4th century BCE, Aristotle used information from Pythagoras in the 6th century BCE to prove that the Earth was spherical based on measurements derived from the curved shadow of the Earth across the moon during a lunar eclipse, which is another thing that's impossible on a flat Earth.
Yeah.
I
And that's
just thought
another
that
one
was
of
fun.
my favorites. The lunar eclipse is just hilarious.
Mhm.
And you'll notice they'll pivot, they'll go straight to the oh god, what's the name of it? That impossible eclipse kind of thing. I can't remember the name of it. The
The Selenilian?
Stellanelian, yeah, that's the one. And that's very easily explained just with refraction. It's just refraction, that's all.
Oh yeah. Shoot, my fisheye lens is over yonder. That's how we did it in the debate with Flatzoid, because it came up and we're like, yeah, you know how a fisheye lens works? It takes light from over here and light from over here and bends it so it's all in the same frame. The atmosphere is a giant lens. But yeah, the actual lens is over yonder. Such is life.
Talking point from Dave, which is the Bible has 200 references to the flat Earth. Every major ancient civilization cosmology depicts the Earth as flat.
Well, not everyone, but okay, yes.
Nope.
It's interesting he brings up the Bible, though.
I don't. A lot of Christians would disagree. A lot of them would say, "Hey, it doesn't say the Earth is flat." I think that you'd have to be. I mean, if you're taking the Bible that literally to say that, hey, it says it's flat, you would have to take the Bible literally enough to say that it has 4 corners as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does say there's 4 corners of the Earth. So, And the crazy thing is, I brought that up to flat earthers, and they say, no, we don't know what's beyond the ice wall. It possibly could be corners.
Hey, chat summoned Dr. Tapioca Weasel.
Hey.
Now we know the secret. It's like Beetlejuice. You mention magnets a few times and the weasel shows up.
Yeah.
Raise the weasel and join the weasel cult over on Maya's channel tomorrow night on Bad Science Sunday. I don't know who this week's guest is yet. We'll get to that another time.
It's not me. I can say that confidently.
Well, that cuts it down to 8.2 yada 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 billion. It's probably not, most people on Earth though. They love you.
That's from me or from Dave?
That is
I would
from
never say
you,
that.
I think.
That's not from me. That's not from me.
It's from Ash. It's from Ash.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Bible believer, from page 1 in the Bible, it says God separated the waters from the waters and created the firmament. That's all interesting, but I don't use the Bible as science, because science will show us on a ball Earth, Dave.
How do you get to flat Earth?
I don't know.
With whatever.
Uh,
I'm glad he doesn't use the Bible as science, because it's not. Even theologians, they're like, no, the Bible is very much not a science book. If you think it is, you're gonna end up deconverting because it's wrong about a lot of shit. But how?
Even creation ministry and stuff say that the Earth isn't flat based on the Bible, kind of thing.
Yeah, which is kind of wild, because they say everything else is literally true. But okay.
You have to have a physical horizon, right? If my fingernail is a boat, as it goes away, it disappears below a physical horizon, and zooming in will not bring it back. However, we can see too far. They say the ball is 24,901 miles around, but we can see things that are way, way, way farther. And with infrared now, we're seeing things.
We can see things that are farther than 24,901 miles. The moon, for instance, is at about 250,000 miles away. It's just, oh my goodness. Mad Computer Scientist sends a super chat for $2. Thank you so much. And says, you can do data science on holy texts, however. And this is true. In fact, Sinister Porpoise, Mad Computer Scientist's alter ego, recently did a project using data analysis to determine the authorship of the various books of the Book of Mormon. And it's a little data heavy, but if you're interested in that sort of thing, it's interesting. And I don't want to spoiler the results, but I mean, you can predict the results.
In fairness, it's the data science that is the science, not the text itself. So
Yes.
like, yeah. The text is not scientific.
Yeah.
You could probably do data science on Lord of the Rings. It doesn't make Lord of the Rings scientific. It is a really good.
Someone did do something like that on Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone if you're American, and found that like whatever the hell the thing is they use for Bible code works on that book too. It's weird. It's wild.
So that numerology kind of stuff. I can't remember what it's called. The numbers applying to the text.
Yeah, it's something like, go this many words and then go to the next thing and do this many words, something like that. I forget the formula, but it's just straight crazy sauce.
Things 500 to 1,000 miles away. The amount of curvature.
You're not.
Yeah, we are.
You're not.
Go look at Jay Tolan Media's channel.
Go look at some lies that a flat earther said. That is real evidence.
No,
sure.
It's Dave. It's well documented. You haven't looked at it. And then when you say the curvature formula is a parabola, I absolutely agree. It is over 1,000.
Define well documented.
Yeah, I don't know, because a lot of flat earthers have said it. It doesn't make it well documented. I think you're sort of appealing to a popularity thing there. It's popular. I've seen it a lot, so it must be true.
Yeah,
No.
and he also agrees the horizon is a parabola. What does What happens when you expand a parabola out a ways?
Yeah.
It's like it curves, doesn't it?
Well, I think
very
you
strange.
mentioned a flat Earth curve calculator, and they love to use certain calculators that don't have refraction or a refractive index on them. It's why they've got such a big problem with Walter Bislan's, because it needs, like, I actually saw a debate where he's like, one person said, "Well, use the Walter Bislan's with the refractive index in it," and he's like, "Yeah, but if I use that, it doesn't work the way that I can show on the simple one." And it's like,
yeah, I've seen
what?
I've seen that happen with Austin
Yeah,
too. I think it may have been a planar walk video where like he showed specifically that the refraction was left out of the equation, and
Yeah.
when it got brought up, he said, "Yeah, but if I use the refraction, then it means that the whatever the hell mountain he was measuring, the hidden height distance or whatever, it suddenly leaps into view, and now you can see it." It's like, well, yeah, that's why we can see it.
yeah, yeah.
1,000 miles, it gets off a little bit, but anything under 1,000 miles, all three formulas come within a very close proximity of each other.
Yeah,
right?
but the problem is you can't do math, so you just do the math wrong.
Well, you're just say that, but if you look at all of the curvature formulas under 1,000 miles, it's perfectly accurate. And then you think that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and we don't feel it, and we're changing. You know, we're changing.
See his Gish Gallop? He's just gone on to the next point, right?
Yeah,
He hasn't
completely
allowed him
unrelated
to
thing.
address that at all. Completely unrelated, just jump to another point. And then he can say, "Hey, he never addressed my point on this," when he's not trying to let him address it. He doesn't want him to address it. He wants to just throw as much stuff out there as possible, as quickly as possible, so we can't actually get to it. That's the strategy.
Yeah, like I do wish. I mean, I love the way Globe Dave has been responding, but I do wish he'd be like, "Hold up, what the fuck does that have to do with what we were just talking about?
Right, right.
Like, why are you talking about that?" But also, for clarity, the 1,000 miles an hour thing, that's at the equator. But also, it's not we're moving at 1,000 miles an hour. It's we're rotating at 360 degrees per day.
Yeah.
Which works out to about 15 degrees an hour, or as it's often put, if you sit in a car and you turn the wheel and drive in such a fashion that it will take you 24 hours to turn the car around once, are you gonna feel the G-forces pushing you to the side while you do? Of course not. It's
Well, what they refuse to acknowledge is that we don't feel velocity or speed. Basically, we don't feel that. Like when you accelerate a car, you're pushed back, and then it eases up as you maintain that velocity. We don't feel velocity. It's conservation of momentum. Like you don't, because you're not stopping, you keep moving until something else acts upon it. So, and that applies to everything on Earth and the Earth itself. So, for instance, I saw this wonderful video that Simon Dan, I think, was showing, that was people jumping on a trampoline while a car was driving. And it was a fantastic, I'll see if I can find it. And props to Simon Dan for finding it, because it was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that's a great example. That's a thing we know from relativity as well, because one of Einstein's thought experiments about the train moving near the speed of light is you can't tell you're moving it near the speed of light because it's a constant velocity. Because even if you throw a ball inside the train, the momentum is conserved. So the ball is also moving at the same speed as the train plus the throw. So yeah, it's as Professor Dave says, they just don't understand anything about anything.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I can't find it, but yeah, it's a really good good video to sort of show conservation of momentum. A really good one.
Directions. How is that possible? How about when the Earth comes around towards the sun in the winter, in our northern winter, it's speeding up and taking its sharpest turn, and then we don't feel any of those forces?
Its sharpest turn. Okay, so this one's really hilarious to me. So the sun goes around the Earth, or sorry, the Earth goes around the sun in how long? How long does it take?
A year.
A year, right? So why don't you go ahead and get in a car and do a 360 turn and make it take a year? Are you going to feel that?
Dave, that's not a
Let's
fair...
break it down. 360 degrees, 365 days. That's about a degree a year, right? Why don't you get in a car and drive for 24 hours and over 24 hours veer by 1 degree? Are you going to feel that?
That would be equivalent.
He's just like derp, loading.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. It's also fun that the car thing, you know, it's a different one. It's the orbit around the sun. But yeah, like it's mind-blowing how derp this is. Like the Earth's orbit is so close to circular. Like it is an ellipse. We do have a perihelion and an aphelion, but it's so close to circular.
I found something similar actually. I will share this. It's horrible angles, but I will share it if you want to throw it on. Just tell me when you're ready. So this is people like being pulled by a sled, where they're actually traveling, right? It's terrible. They didn't do it enough to show the momentum, but the whole point is that they can jump on the trampoline even while the sled is driving, and it's still like they conserve that momentum. They don't go anywhere. Like it's like they're standing still, jumping on a trampoline. They're not actually flying off the end of it because the car whooshes out from underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
They conserve their momentum while jumping. So it's just like they're jumping while the trampoline's stationary, even though they're in movement. Now, if that car veered and they went to the side, then they'd go flying off the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Because
or if the car like slammed on the brakes or whatever,
right,
they'd keep moving at the speed they had been at, and
right.
It's so wild that we need small scale displays to illustrate this, because like the fact I can stand up off my chair and sit back down and my chair is still there instead of a couple hundred miles further to the west. It's
well, what's even wilder is these people have taken flights where they're traveling at insane speeds relative to you just walking on the ground, and they don't get it, even though they'll sit in the plane and think nothing of it. And it's like, how do you not realize this is the same thing? Like, how does that not get through to you, that if we're on the Earth and we don't feel the velocity, and then you go, oh, you should, then why don't you want a plane or a train or a car or any of these things? I don't get it. It's so weird.
Mm-hmm. It's very selective mental processing. Part of the mental gymnastics, I reckon.
To this, people say, "Oh, I'm just trying to think of the easiest."
I'm just trying to think of something to say that will make sense.
Stop being a dick, right? Imagine you want to compare that.
Man.
If you want to compare that to reality, imagine you're in an airplane where you remove the outer shell of the airplane, you double the speed of the airplane, and you nosedive 2 miles a minute. Okay, and that just to follow the curve of the Earth. That's the speed that the Earth is curving. And when something's moving and it's curving, that's exciting.
So 120 miles an hour. How does he get that? And also, why do you have to remove the top of the plane? Like, what does that have to do with anything?
I don't know.
It's very strange. It's a very curious argument.
I've seen videos from pilots before, and they've said, like, so, what is it? Altimeters? Is it altimeters? I feel like I'm mispronouncing that. Or altimeters, I think it's altimeters. They basically they go by pressure, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially what happens is if you maintain the altitude, you're essentially maintaining the same curve around the Earth, because that curve will be the same pressure along the Earth. And even the autopilot does correct. It's just the Earth's so big that the correction is altimeters. Altimeters. Okay, yeah, cool, got it. The correction is so small, like it is so small. It doesn't. Atometers. Thanks, Billcap. I'll never mispronounce it again. You know you're gonna screw me up, and I'll pronounce it. Yeah.
You know, every time you
incorrectly.
eat, you are ingesting atoms. Okay, I'll stop. But yeah, like you don't even. There is auto-correction and whatnot in the autopilots, but you don't even actually have to. Like when you're walking, you know, you walk for 100 kilometers or whatever. That's a long, nice day's journey kind of thing. You don't have to constantly lean further forward because down is always towards the center of the Earth. So as long as you just stay vertical, you get curved by the Earth itself as you move. But details.
Acceleration. Okay, so
Ooh, big
just
words.
This acceleration is a big word.
Well, when it is for you because you're not using it properly.
So,
acceleration is rate of change in velocity. So you're using it like it's
when
velocity.
you change
So you
off
don't
of
know
your
what
vector,
acceleration
when
is.
you change off of your vector, that force is equal to acceleration. Okay.
Yeah, but I just told you, right? It takes a year to go around the sun.
So,
how much are you feeling? Do you want to calculate it? Should we
Dave,
calculate it together?
I'm talking about the spin of the Earth. The spin of the Earth. The spin of the Earth.
So now we're on the spin of the Earth again. Like,
yeah. So back
it's
to the
so
rotation.
little idea.
When that doesn't work, but even the spin of the Earth, it's like 15 degrees per hour. Like seriously, that is nothing. It's like sit on a roundabout, like a merry-go-round, and spin it 15 degrees per hour. Like if you were on a merry-go-round, you're not even really moving at that point.
Yeah, and to add on to that, you do actually feel it ever so slightly, because what that produces, it's not like you're being flung to the east or flung to the west. You're getting a centripetal force kind of effect, which
Coriolis
tries to separate us from the surface of the Earth. It's an outward force, so it's basically negating a fraction of what we feel from gravity. If the Earth suddenly stopped doing that, then we would be, flung to the east at X miles per hour or whatever. But we'd also feel slightly heavier.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and
we
here's the
do
thing:
feel it.
We see the effects of Coriolis, and it only affects like really towards the equator, because towards the poles of the Earth, it's not doing the same force because it is the equator. It's things moving away from the equator. Like if you spin a ball, like things will move towards the poles of that. It's very, very strange that they go, well, we don't see the effects. We absolutely do see the effects in things like weather. We absolutely do.
Yeah, like Starsong mentions, we can measure it. It's a couple of grams, but we can measure it. Yeah, Spielkub mentions it also. Yeah, slightly different weight because of that effect. So yeah, there it is.
Right, you're dropping.
The spin of the Earth is constant.
2 miles.
We do
a
not
minute.
feel.
You're falling, like if you take a point in space and you go for an hour, you're falling at the same rate as a skydiver free falling. Okay, that's ridiculous, right? You are curving off of your line of your trajectory.
But when you're skydiving, once you achieve terminal velocity, you no longer feel the acceleration. It's the same as being in 0G. You feel the wind because you're moving through the wind, but you don't feel the acceleration anymore. That's why in space, they call it 0G. It's not actually 0G. It's the fact you're in a gravity well that produces that effect. You're in free fall because you're not being affected by the gravity because you're in free fall.
This one I think I figured out, and I think this one is genuine confusion on your part. So I don't want to hold this one against you as much as other lies you tell, which are just blatant lies. This one is just you not understanding. You're trying to compare motion within the atmosphere of the Earth. So you're like, oh my gosh, something going through the atmosphere so fast and it's crazy and we feel it, versus motion in frictionless space. Do you not understand that that's not the same thing? Right? The atmosphere on Earth is very thick. There's a lot of friction. Right, so when you try to move through air, there's friction, and you feel it.
It doesn't matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
That air is spinning with the Earth, which you have to believe in your model. You would feel
doesn't matter.
You would feel that motion. If you're in an airplane,
why would you feel the motion? Why would you feel the motion?
Because your energy is changing directions, and you would have
energy is changing directions.
What about eclipses, guys? What about eclipses?
Hold on,
That's my third talking point.
Yeah, finally, Sean's got to go to. I want to hear about eclipses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aye.
I hope we get to it.
Let's finish this point. Your mainstream science says that because of the spin of the Earth, because of the centrifugal force, that the water bulges at the equator 14 miles high.
What?
This is what Neil deGrasse Tyson and science tells us about the spin of the Earth. The water at the equator. Yes, it does.
True.
It doesn't. Miles.
What?
It might bulge slightly, but I don't. 14 miles high.
Oh goodness. How much does the ocean bulge from the poor Google? It's trying to autocomplete with magnetic declination.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's like, oh, I see you're a flat earther, and therefore you're a fucking idiot. Okay. Earth's oceans bulge about 2 meters due to the combination of the moon and sun's gravitational forces and Earth's rotation. The non-AI answer is that that's the tidal bulge. It's not what I'm looking for. Where do the oceans get their energy? Tides. Equatorial bulge. Here we go.
Well, the equatorial bulge is the because it's an oblate spheroid. It's not a perfect spheroid. It means that the Earth's thick at the thing, but that's not talking about the ocean. He's confused the ocean with the equatorial bulge of the Earth.
I think that's exactly it. Is the difference in the radii is about 13 miles. So yeah, he thinks the ocean is 13 miles higher.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's so trippy.
No, the equatorial bulge is sort of the way we describe the Earth. It's an oblate spheroid. So it's a sphere, but it's basically flattened at the poles. So it's not a huge amount. It's just a little bit kind of thing. And that's basically because the Earth's spinning. So that's, we sort of say, hey, there's a difference between the radius to the center of the Earth from the poles as opposed to the equator, for instance. People at the poles are closer to the center of the Earth than at the equator. So we call that the equatorial bulge, that basically Earth's a little deformed, basically. I'm really sorry to break it to you, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it happens. The sun does the same thing. Jupiter does the same thing. Like everything spinning does that. And it works the other way in reverse, too. Like if you have an object floating in space, if it isn't a perfect sphere, if it's rotating, eventually, it takes a long freaking time because there's so little friction in space, but eventually it will rotate along the longest axis. It won't be spinning on the axis. That will be the part flung out. We see it with space probes, decommissioned ones that are no longer under power. Even if they were like spinning to maintain a geosynchronous position, so that the satellite dish was always pointed at the same place or whatever like that, eventually it will be spinning along the longest axis. It's a manifestation of not friction. It's the potential energy thing seeking entropy. There we go. Seeking the lowest stable state, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Mohammed Kamikaze says, like it's 30 kilometers, which is not like, considering that the Earth is what 6.4 kilometers. Sorry, 6.4 thousand kilometers in radius. That is a tiny amount. It's nearly spheroid. Like it's almost nothing. Like if you consider it next to the actual size of the Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need like really, really precise. It's only been in the 20th century we were even able to measure the distinction. For you imperial folk, it's 18.6 miles. I can walk that far in a day if I'm wearing comfortable shoes.
High. It makes the Earth 29 miles wider at the equator.
No, that's the Earth, not the water. What are you talking about? Are you a moron, dude? The radius. This is what happened. You're very confused.
So let me ask you a question.
No, stop, because you just said a very specific number, and I know why you said that number. The diameter of the Earth is about 27 miles greater at the equator. That's the whole Earth. You're trying to pretend that it's all water, that there's just this big thing of water that's 14 miles. Is that what you're genuinely trying to say? Are you that stupid?
Yeah.
Well, that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. But let's
No,
just
he
say,
didn't say that.
I'll go with you.
No, he doesn't.
The Earth is bulging.
And even if he did, he's clearly the Pope of science.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. He doesn't say that. It's just you have misunderstood what that equatorial bulge is, put it into water, and then said, oh, well, they want us to believe that this wall of water. No, that's not what they're saying.
Be cool if it were. But, that's another fun claim from Flat Earth is like, they want us to believe there's a magic fucking ice wall. Like, show me the ice wall then, Which is ice also being made of water, so there's that.
So does that mean that large bodies of water at rest near the equator, if you hung a plumb line over it, that it wouldn't be perpendicular to the surface of the water? It would be off just a little bit because of that bulge? Or does gravity...
What does the bulge of the equator have to do with the water?
Well, because the gravity pulls everything to the center of the Earth in your whole world. And if we have a bulge at the equator, a plumb line, which should be vertical, it should be perpendicular to the water, would not be perpendicular to the water because the water would be sloping away because we have a bulge.
What do you mean sloping away? Okay, a bulge isn't, first of all, as I just said, this has nothing to do with the water. It's the shape of the Earth itself. So you're just completely wrong anyway. But second of all, this is the thing with you guys. You think that the curvature of the Earth is supposed to be, you're talking about a plumb line. Do you think that the curvature of the Earth is supposed to be like this or something? Do you have no idea how big the Earth is? Do you not understand that the curvature is not detectable at the surface of the Earth? It's really big. It's a really big planet.
Horizon. We can see boats go over the horizon. We can see boats go over the horizon, but we can't see the curve, right? Dave, according.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, we can see boats go over the horizon, but we can't detect the curve with our naked eyes. But it's interesting, if you get a camera, like a 360 camera, and you squish it together, you don't manipulate in any way, but you squish together, you can actually see the curve. Like the curve actually becomes apparent because your eyes can't take in that amount of distance that's required to see the curve.
Yeah, I've noticed that myself. If you take a rectilinear image where the verticals are true vertical all the way across the frame, even at something relatively moderate like a 15 millimeter lens, which works out to, I don't know, a 70-80 degree field of view, something like that.
Yeah.
And you make sure the camera is dead level and facing center, whatever, you can see the edge of the horizon if you have a clear view on a clear day, etc. It curves slightly downward, because if you're looking this way, the edges curve downward. It's fucking crazy. Dr. Tapioca Weasel, member for 13 months. Holy shit! I appreciate that very much. I know we've been monetized for over a year, but seeing someone do the thing, it still gets me. It still gets me.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Dr. T says, chat is being cruel to me. Also, what is vertical?
Well,
What is vertical?
Vertical, well, I mean, it only applies in relative to another thing. So vertical would be perpendicular to another thing. So you're really talking about something at 90-degree angle. To say, if you're talking about like vertical as in are you vertical, you're talking about being 90 degrees to the tangent of the Earth's point at which you're on, kind of thing. So yeah, that's vertical. I guess that's how I'd describe it anyway.
So I asked ChatGPT, because why wouldn't I? And it says vertical refers to something that is oriented straight up and down, couldn't be me, perpendicular to the horizontal plane. It is the direction that follows the force of gravity from top to bottom or bottom to top. For example, a vertical line or object stands upright, like a flagpole or the side of a building. The term is often used in contrast to horizontal, which refers to something that is flat or level, parallel to the ground. Not a bad job for a bot, I say. Hopefully that random aside made it worth it. I know it was a member chat, so members get, that's another perk of membership. Members get a free monthly milestone member chat. But hopefully it was worth it. with it. Yes, free tangent. Yes.
Nice. AI tangent. I love it.
Your math, there's certain things that should be behind a curve at certain distances, but we can see far.
But we can't. You just lie about them. You just
What do you
said
mean I
earlier
lie?
that we can see things 1,000 miles away. Are you out of your mind? Everybody should be able to take a telescope then and see something 1,000 miles away. Why can't they?
Dave, you don't know where it was taking it from. It's infrared cameras. Go look at J-Toll and Media One and watch all of the.
He's the special one. He can do it. Nobody else can do it.
Actually,
Nobody
no,
else
other
can get
people
this
can do it.
footage.
So,
Oh, but they don't.
Dave, let me ask you a
They
question.
just don't because they don't feel like it.
Do you believe that the ground is horizontal?
It's almost perfectly horizontal. Yes.
Okay, are horizontals parallel?
If you
Are horizontals parallel? That's a question.
I think what you're trying to ask is if you have parallel planes, right? If you have two flat planes, can they be made parallel? Yes, two flat planes can be
not what
made
I'm saying.
parallel. Well, what are you saying? Because nobody has
what
any
I'm
clue
saying
what you're
is-
saying.
If you have a horizontal line on Earth, then there's only one point that would be touching the Earth, and the rest would just rise up into space. But all horizontal lines line up with the horizontal horizon. Okay, they're all parallel.
Do they, or do they just look like that because your eyes suck and they can't distinguish between arc seconds of angle?
All right. Well, let me phrase it
Looking
this way. So-
like it perfectly overlaps doesn't mean that it perfectly overlaps.
Oh my
Hey,
God.
Mark,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another thing that we can actually test as well. If you have a really wide angle, like say you take a fisheye, right? Something with a really wide field of view, and you again level it, make sure your center is on the horizon, because fisheyes, they do distort, but not from the center line. They'll, if you're facing downward, they'll bend upward. If you're facing upward, they'll bend downward. It's a distortion effect. But if they're dead center, they don't do that. If you do that, you should produce an absolutely horizontal horizon. Except you don't. If you take that into Photoshop and you use the line tool to generate a straight, flat line, and you put it on the horizon deviates. Because it's curved.
Yep. And here's the thing, he's just trying to define flat Earth into existence. Say, well, if you define the Earth as, the ground is horizontal, or the ocean water is horizontal, or basically he's trying to do the same thing they talk about when they talk about level, essentially. If you define that as horizontal, there can be two people on different sides of the Earth and they're still horizontal. So it can't, they're parallel to one another. So you can't, they're not curved. And it's just trying to define something into existence. It's not going to work because we don't define the Earth as horizontal. That's not what anybody is saying. Horizontal is perpendicular to the force of gravity. It'll just like level is. It doesn't get you there. But he's just trying word games at this point, which just shows a lot of dishonesty.
Yeah. Word games. You got to light a flurf, as they say. Dr. T says, what is horizontal? These are subtle but important questions. They explain why the modern prime meridian is 100 meters from the Greenwich line. I mean, like Mark just said, horizontal is perpendicular to the force of gravity, which is why we don't get like proper horizontals. It's very interesting. Johnny says, in brief, how do photo globes work? I was checking Marketplace for fushigi ball prices. I don't know what a fushigi ball is, and photo globe could refer to a number of different things. If you're referring to like a 360 image that captures everything in a globe around the camera, it depends on the camera. Usually, it's 280-degree fisheyes that the processor then stitches together around the edges. But I'm not sure that's exactly what you're referring to.
Just because the horizon
Only
looks flat doesn't mean it's perfectly
10
flat.
minutes left, guys, to move on to eclipses.
10 minutes left. I didn't even get to do I did one of my things.
Give me 13 minutes.
My question is, the top of the World Trade Towers, when they were up, are those floors larger than the lower floors? Because for them to be perpendicular, they would have to get larger, right?
How far apart were they? How far apart were the...
I've used that argument before. I mean, not specifically with the World Trade Center, but like bridge towers, for example. San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. You know, they're very, very close to parallel, but they're not parallel. And that had to be factored into their construction. There's something like, I don't know, 100th of a degree off from each other. And if they weren't, the bridge wouldn't stay up. The architects had to calculate that in. Pretty neat.
Towers.
I don't know, but I'm asking you about one tower.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. Look, it doesn't matter. We're talking about the distance between the towers or the width of a tower. Do you know how much curvature there is over such a small distance? It is so small that it is 100% negligible. What are you not understanding about that? The Earth is really big.
So do you believe that horizontal lines are parallel?
If you make them parallel, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about horizontal lines on Earth. When you're, surveying the land and you have a horizontal line, another one, another one, another one. Are they parallel?
If you make them parallel, they're not lines, right? They're not actual lines. Do you know that lines are just approximations, right? We can draw lines, we can graph lines and do math in perfect Euclidean geometry. The Earth has a spherical surface. So yeah, we can go, that's a line and that's a line. And if we're just looking at less than a mile, yeah, it looks really straight, but it's not because the Earth is a sphere. So you're not comprehending scale. That's the problem.
It's not even scale necessarily, like lines of latitude, for example. They're definitionally parallel if you slice the Earth that way. But when you take your map and you flatten it out into like a Mercator projection, they're parallel. But with like the azimuth equidistant projection that the flurfers like so much, now they're rings. What do you mean by parallel? What context are we using this in? Nee has figured out how to interrobang in that's interesting. But also, the fushigi balls are a contact juggling glass ball, like the Goblin King from Labyrinth used. So you may have seen ads for this on your YouTube at some point. I'm pretty sure I've seen it too. It's where it's a shiny ball and the people do the thing and the ball is, I don't know, it almost seems to float. I always assumed that was like the juggler's skill with balancing the ball, but maybe there's a special trick to it. I don't know. But that's what those are, to answer the question from earlier. It was my question, but it needed to be answered.
Measured curvature in large body of water at rest. Large body of water needs a container to hold it in place. And has anyone measured any curvature on resting water? And don't tell me your drop and your wave, which is in your stupid video that got 10 views.
Drop and wave? I don't even know what you're talking about.
We talked about water curves. You showed a drop of water.
Yeah. Okay, no, I know what you're talking about.
That is just a complete straw man.
Well, it's not, but actually, this is what's funniest to me is that you're flatter. You debunk yourself with this level water thing, because the funny thing is that so tides exist, right? And so on your little pizza world, tides are these little mounds of water that kind of travel around. I don't really know how else you can explain this, but tides exist, right?
Yeah, they do, but they don't correlate to the sun and the moon. There's
Stop,
no,
stop.
Yeah.
No sun
What?
and the moon. No sun and moon. There are
Mhm.
the water levels go up and down, right? And in different places, not everywhere at the same time, right?
Yeah,
So
but
on your
you
little
believe-
pizza world,
you
you've got a
believe
little
that
hold on,
you-
you've got a little mound of water that's just kind of traveling around. So I'm sorry, but water isn't level on your pizza world either.
Dave, what causes your high tides? The moon?
What causes tides? The moon
Yeah.
and well, there's solar tides and there's lunar tides.
Right. And so when there's a new moon, which means the sun and the moon
Yeah.
are on the same side of the earth, the tide should be bigger, but there's not. There's bigger tides when they're
No, it
opposing.
is.
No, they're not.
No, it is.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
There's a special term for it. It eludes me at the moment, but yeah, Yeah.
It's just the confidence he has of going,
yeah. I mean, there's a long way to explain it and a short way to explain it, and so it. Yes,
what
super tide. That's it. Let's
what
go with that one.
causes the tides on a flat Earth? Have you ever had
Right.
an answer to that? Like, what actually causes it?
Yeah, mountains of
is-
water
it-
running around. Very
Yeah.
curious. Yeah, because if it's not gravity from the moon, But yeah, solar tide makes a very, very tiny difference. You'd notice it if there weren't lunar tides, but it's not so much that you notice the difference with the
Yeah.
lunar tides happening anyway.
Yeah.
You're absolutely wrong.
No, I'm not. And you
Right.
can Google it right now. What are you
Okay.
talking about? When the solar and lunar tides align, that's the highest tide.
Right, guys,
You're
we've
just
done
saying
that.
it's not because you're just lying.
I'm being pushed by Ash to move on to
No.
day/night regions of illumination.
Okay.
No, I want to know
Right,
his
what does that mean?
explanation of tides in general. Like, if it's
Yeah.
not the sun and the moon, what is it?
Yeah, why does that happen? But as Dave said, that or as Globe Dave said, the important point, even more important than the explanation, is that water isn't level on the flat Earth either.
Yeah.
So that's fun. That's a really quick cut all the explanation and just point at the bullcrap, and I dig that.
Oh well, that's my second thing. I can try. I'll do it super fast. I'll do it as fast as possible.
Go on. Do you need him to put the thing up?
Yeah.
Yeah, he might not be able to do that. Sean, what are you thinking?
The system has crashed. That's why I got kicked off.
I mean, I can try to. I mean, you kind of need the visual, but I mean, I'll wing it if you guys want.
Please,
We're not going to get the
I think
slides.
so.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
sorry about
so
This
this
is
is the
why I
funny
like
thing
doing
about your
my
pizza.
own slides. That's why I like doing my own slides. I'm not gonna, it's yeah. Mind you, they probably couldn't screen share or something like that. I don't know. Seems dodgy.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Like, as you know, when we'd go on MDD or something, I very rarely used a visual. I would just describe what I wanted to show, and people could look it up if they wanted to. But it's another good reason to use OBS, because then you have control over what's displaying in your own window. So even if somebody's so incompetent they can't bring up a screen share, you can still show what you want to show by changing what your window displays. Pretty
Yeah.
neat. When you have your buttons turned on, which I do not have today, but yeah, you can. It's doable.
The world is that in the northern hemisphere things are kind of okay, not really, but in the southern hemisphere it all goes to crap. And so to try to explain night and day and seasons, which you absolutely cannot do, you try to make the sun go way out towards the bottom, and you think that works because it makes it the longer nights, right, up in the north. But the problem is in the southern hemisphere everything is terrible because you've got the sun way out towards the edge, and therefore it shouldn't be able to illuminate very much of the earth. But in the southern hemisphere, in like December and January, you've got regions like towards the southern ends of those continents that are almost day almost all day. So you've got 19, 20 hours of daylight. So you've got this sun that's traveling around way out towards the edge, because this is how you like to do it, and it is somehow illuminating almost all of the outer regions of your pizza world, and yet it is somehow not illuminating the center because areas towards the North Pole have 24 hours of night at that time. So unfortunately you can't do the like Antarctica isn't real, so the South Pole, that's not a thing. These are places where
Oh, hey, how handy of Flat Dave to bring a graphic illustrating the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, because like right here, he's got the sun during northern time, right? Antarctica is in
Yes.
total darkness somehow, and the light covers the North Pole, and it's an oval shape. But as the sun moves further south into southern summer, it starts to get some weird, like first it's a kidney bean, and then it distends even further, and it's just wild shapes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We don't
People
say
live
Antarctica is
and,
not real. We don't say that at all.
Yeah, like
like
that.
Like, how the hell does that work?
The light's reaching all the way around, but not the part in between. Oh, I love it.
You say
no,
that.
you say the South Pole isn't real,
We don't.
even though there's people who go there and work there. And
people work at the South Pole.
yeah,
Yeah, prove it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you can get a job there. Did you know that civilians can get jobs?
So the way it
You
works,
should apply for one. I think that'd be a cool video for you to
Dave,
do.
on your upside down world, on your ball world, in the north, Norway and northern Alaska, we have the 24-hour sun in June. Okay, and we see the sun, and it's been filmed by millions of people, and you can watch the sun circle around. Makes perfect sense on a ball. Makes perfect sense on flat Earth. We're on the same page there. But 12 months,
Yeah,
6 months later. 6 months later, at equal southern latitudes, you should see the same. But there's no video of the. No, you don't. There's no video of the 24-hour sun. There's 3 or 4 fake.
Oh, yeah, there
clearly
is.
fake, taken apart.
Yeah, there absolutely is. I've shown one myself. It's
Plus, you can look the research stations down there. I pulled up the live stream for an Australian research station. It keeps a live stream down there, for Christ's sake. Like, you can, and like huge YouTubers. You know, I know Mr. Beast is apparently in trouble, but he did a 24-hour sun video kind of thing at Antarctica. It's not. Does anyone know, is it going to be possible for the final experiment to live stream? That's a good question, Beheaded. I would say that they could be using satellite communications. So I don't know if flirters are allowed to use satellite communications. I don't know what kind of communications they have down there. There might be fiber to some of the research stations or some of the sort of visitor areas. You know, they might have some kind of connection down there, but I honestly don't know. I don't know what the internet is like down there.
Yeah. The videos I've seen, I don't think they're live streamed per se. I think the scientist who was also doing the videography, like, just made a local recording and then uploaded it after he got back from Antarctica. But I'm not 100% on that. It was from like 2017 or something, so I don't know.
Talking, right? I didn't interrupt you. And there's no 24-hour sun. The sun Antarctic's away from you. It comes towards you and it goes away.
Okay.
Unlike the Arctic where it's circling around, I'm still talking. Okay. And there's no 24 hours of daylight. But if you add a dome in there, and again, we're looking at the lights in the sky, which is something that doesn't prove either. When you bring the sun closer to the dome, it wraps around. And we can show you this, you know, get a dome, get a glass, move the light, and you'll see that the light wraps around. And that's exactly what we see in Antarctica.
Okay, so I know that you can do your fun little middle school science project where you have a little, serving tray thing and you make a flashlight do funny things, but you cannot make it actually. So this is why you have your dumb little app, your little thing in your sun and stuff. It doesn't actually show the regions of actual daylight and nighttime. It just shows like a little cartoon. You don't actually see. It doesn't actually do these patterns. So when you're called out on this, instead of going, "Oh, my app shows the actual patterns and this crazy arc that would make sense." So first of all, I'm sorry. Even though that there are videos at the South Pole, I'm sorry that Antarctica is not.
Wait. I'm gonna go back a second because I want Flat Dave's graphic. So for this to work, for the light to be warped because it's shining through the dome, the sun has to be outside the dome.
Right.
He was just arguing that it has to be small and very, very close. But
Mhm.
now,
Yeah.
it size who the fuck knows. It has to be a flashlight and very far away outside the dome. And nothing is outside the dome because it's the fucking firmament.
Yeah.
But okay. And also, if it were a flashlight pointing at the dome, like, first of all, this trick only works when you use a directed beam of light, not an open light source like a light bulb where the light goes in
Right.
every direction. But you'd
Right.
also see the flashlight everywhere inside the dome.
Mhm.
It's the stupidest fucking thing. And it's self-refuting.
Yeah.
the actual patterns and this crazy arc that would make sense. So first of all, I'm sorry, even though there are videos at the South Pole, I'm sorry that Antarctica is not where a bunch of people live. So we don't have all of these videos like we do way up towards the North Pole. But again,
Someone should ask the penguins. They can tell us.
Yeah, the penguins don't lie.
Yeah,
on now.
penguins never lie. It's a known fact about penguins.
and as I said, the way southern region of Argentina, like I did in my video, Ushuaia or whatever it's called.
Which cartoon do you like the best showing Antarctica?
What do you mean, which cartoon?
Which cartoon? There's no pictures of Antarctica from space.
Okay, well, there are, so that's really dumb. But
No,
let me
there's not.
continue demolishing. Okay, stop. I'm going to continue
What a
demolishing the idiotic thing you just said earlier.
comment.
So you
Like,
can do your little.
seriously.
Yeah.
What a loaded question. Which one of these cartoons is your favorite? Like, seriously, dude, that's what you brought to a serious debate. Like a loaded question that's just so dumb.
Yeah, begging the question, in fact. I'm going to assert these are all fake, therefore they're all fake.
Yeah.
Now, some of them actually are fake. Like, there's one I can see
absolutely.
is CGI. There's one that is an artist. Like, you can see the drawing of it. But there's
But
another.
they're not pretending that they're real. That's the thing. They're maps. It's like someone makes a map and you go, oh, you just made a cartoon. That's not real.
Yeah. Yeah, it's freaking crazy. Like, oh my goodness. But like that one in the bottom right corner that shows the Aurora Austral, like that's a photo from a space probe that made headlines when it came out because it happened to be during like a really powerful solar storm. And we were like, look how bright the fucking aurora is, you know?
Yeah.
Thing flat earthers love to do their little middle school science project. So okay, you've got the thing and blah blah blah. So why can't your flat earth app do it? Why can't you actually show the regions of day and night? Why can't you look at that and go, yeah, look at that. I see the light illuminating this part of the flat earth, right? And I can see that we have 20 hours of sunlight in southern Argentina, and I can see that. You just have a little cartoon doing nonsense, and then all of your idiot people who buy the thing, they're not like, oh, that looks cool, and they don't actually look at what it does at all, right? Why can't you have it show that, right?
It shows pretty accurately the amount of day and night, but I can't
No, it
show it.
doesn't.
Well, I can't show it because if on the latitude line that you're on, it's different where you are. So I have to kind of blend them together. It's just a tool to show
The amount
how-
of day and night depends. The amount of day and night that objectively happens in a place depends on your latitude.
Absolutely, 100% on your ball too. When I'm in the north,
No, I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand what I just said.
No, you don't understand what I just said.
No, I definitely know that you're not saying anything. I'm saying that in that town in Argentina, there is an objective time where the sun rises and sets,
Yes,
and
but
where you are doesn't change that.
There's no place that you have 17 hours of sun. You have daylight. Daylight is the illumination of the sky. It's not.
He just said that up in Alaska, where I guess he lives, there's a period during the summer when the sun is in the sky for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, my guy?
And I just checked Epic Discover. It does capture like part of Antarctica. Obviously, it sort of goes around the equator or roughly around the equator, but you can still see part of Antarctica. Like, it's not like we have no photos of Antarctica at all. Like, this is the thing. It's so dumb. I don't get it. I don't get this guy.
Yeah, like Google Earth. It's been around for over a decade now, and it's all satellite pictures. Like you can zoom in to the point where you can see a pool in someone's backyard, and you can just spin that little globe until you see Antarctica. Like, if the pool in your backyard is real, that's as real as Antarctica is. But whatever.
The sun.
From the sun.
No, the sun.
You're saying that daylight is not from the sun?
Absolutely. So if the sun
Where is it
rises-
from?
if the sun
What's
rises
making
on-
the sunlight then?
Okay,
It's
I
the
despise.
sunlight.
Yeah, like that's what it is. I despise Andrew Gold, but even he, as a moderator, is jumping in on the skeptic side. He's like,
Yeah,
where the fuck does the light come from then?
right.
What even is the sun? If it's not like the light we see from the sun is how we know
So-
there's the sun there.
So there's a light there that's provides it seems to provide illumination. We can feel the heat. It's bright in the sky, but that's not providing the light.
Well,
I am so confused. It
The
sounds like
Bible
he's just-
did say there was light before the sun was created.
That's
So
true. That's true. But it's weird because it what the hell? It sounds like he's just making shit up. Like he's just making up whatever to try and get around the objections that Globe Dave has.
well, that's all flat Earth and all these other conspiracies
Yeah.
can ever do. Like, you know, I keep trying to show the similarities between this and the other nonsense theories, and like, you know, it's the same thing with all of them. You know, with QAnon, for example, like you have to presuppose that Biden is currently the head of a multinational organization that controls everything,
Right.
but at the same time is also the weakest and most powerless president we've ever
Right,
had.
right. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it has to be both things at once because there's no consistency, there's no internal coherency. It's
I
all
just-
just explanations for the specific point that's being talked about right now.
I don't understand how people can hold on to these ideas without some form of cognitive dissonance, though. Like it's sort of, are there people immune to cognitive dissonance? It's incredible, really. It's
Maybe
just
so.
incredible. Maybe we found a absolute special member of humanity in Flat Earth Dave immune to cognitive dissonance.
We should study his neurology so we can learn about neuroplasticity.
Maybe.
No. The sun is lighting up the sky. It's like a
Uh-huh.
photographer. You have your main light, and then you have your backlight. The sky is the daylight. When the sun is on the east side of your house, right on the horizon, go to the back side of your house. You can read the newspaper. Well, where's that? That sunlight's not. What's it going through your house? It's lighting up the sky.
It's
and that's
scattered by atmospheric particles.
That's what
It's
you
still
say.
sunlight.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you say to say a
Well,
thing that
Dave,
explains
how
why what
come-
I just said
how
is
come-
stupid, and I have
how
no
come-
way to combat it.
How come nobody has filmed the 24-hour sun in Antarctica?
They have. You
I mean,
just say it's a
they
lie.
have.
No,
They
no,
have, and you.
I have.
But if I assert a thing, then that thing is true. Never mind that you can demonstrate otherwise. I'm just
They
gonna.
have. And not only have they done that, people that have visited Antarctica in the summertime complain about the 24-hour sunlight because our bodies don't react well to 24-hour sunlight.
You know what? We could do the opposite test. We could reverse it. Dave is claiming 24-hour sun is a lie. Okay, cool. So prove it. Go to Antarctica on the southern summer solstice and show
Yep.
me a picture of the night. Anytime in that 24-hour period,
Sure.
take a picture where it's nighttime.
Mhm.
Prove it. Show me. Should be super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
You just go, oh, that's fake.
No, we don't. We don't just go, oh, that's fake. We
But
show
guess
you how
what?
it's fake.
That's why in my video I don't talk about Antarctica because you just say it's fake. That's why I picked southern Argentina because people live there and they have 19 hours of daylight and you can't explain it because it's this
I did
huge.
explain it. You can't
No, you didn't.
understand
You
it.
just said there's a
Absolutely.
glass thing in the flashlight. You're just
Right.
doing a middle school science project. You're not actually explaining anything. You're just going, oh, I did a thing in my living room, so all of science is wrong. That's what you're doing.
You don't.
The globe- I wish I had the slide, 'cause the
again,
globe-
Dave, the optics of the sky are no way to prove the shape of the Earth.
And now we're back on the.
Yeah.
He spends all this time talking about how the sunlight works, and now
Yep.
Mott and Bailey, he can't defend the Mott, so he falls back to the Bailey. The sky doesn't prove the ground.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
You can.
Well, they are.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
I
in
just
your
did it
world.
twice.
Yeah. well,
And
keep-
you have no
keep
way to
explaining
combat
it.
anything I just said, so that's
Can
why
I-
you say that thing over
Can I
and
just
over.
interrupt here? Flat Earth Dave, what would it take? Because I think Dave is saying that, you know, people live in Ushuaia and that they have this, and you could just go and ask the people though. You could go, what would it take to convince you? And how important is it? Why is it important to you to hold this belief? What does it mean to you?
It's not important to hold the belief. I'm looking for the truth. And if the globe was true, then when in Antarctica in December, you should be able to see the sun circle all the way around without dropping.
And you do.
You can.
Dave,
I've
can.
seen loads of documentaries
And you
where that
do.
happens.
You can. You cannot see it. It's absolutely untrue. And we show the best one that they have. They show it 24 hours of the sun going around. And when it comes around, not only is it the same clouds, the sun is in a completely different position, like months different position. So it's all camera trickery. And it's
What does in months different position would be towards the horizon because
Yeah.
it's a pole.
Yeah.
Like what does he mean? What
I
does
don't
this
know.
mean?
I have no idea.
Oh wow, wowzers! Those goalposts are getting frequent
Does he
flyer
mean
mileage.
like over the day it still dips towards the horizon? Because yeah, unless you're in like the actual South Pole, that should happen.
Yeah, you see the same thing at like
'Cause-
Svalbard Island, northern Norway, where
Right.
or anywhere
Right.
above the Arctic Circle, land
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
midnight sun. Like the sun, it'll go up a bit and it'll go down a bit, but it stays above the horizon.
That's not months difference. That's just the reason why that is occurring is because of your the distance to the pole. On the pole, it will be the same because wherever you're looking at it will be the same distance to the horizon. But if you're on like if you're not directly on the pole or the axis, it will dip down as you move to the far side, and then it'll move up as you move to the near side. That's not unusual. That's not months difference. That's just how it works.
Yeah, that's what happens every day. The sun starts really low and then it goes up high in the sky and then it comes back low again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Provable. It's not just us saying it. So when you watch
No,
space,
it
you're
is
like,
just
"Oh,
you saying it.
yeah, well, not true." And do some research,
Yeah.
Dave, and then get out of your little ball model, and you'll see. We don't live upside down on a space ball flying through an empty
Down
space
is towards
vacuum.
the center of the earth. Nobody is upside down. That's one of the dumbest things you morons say. Down is towards the center of the earth. Nobody is upside
So
down.
on your world, there's people upside down relative to me.
And you're upside down relative to them. It's a sphere. Who cares?
Good luck with that.
Your response to basic
Good
shapes
luck
is
with that.
good luck with that.
Oh, I love it. Like they do that on the International Space Station too, just to like keep things interesting for the viewers when they do a show. Is they'll have like 2 astronauts or 3 astronauts lined up, and then they'll have another one who's upside down relative to them because it doesn't actually matter in space.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you 5 years old? You have the intellect of a 5-year-old. You can't understand, like little
Dave,
kids understand this stuff. You know
I
that?
just want to say
Yeah.
that you're more of a condescending prick than I thought.
I
Yeah.
would say you're more
But
than
he's
anything. I
right.
know what you are, but I'm sorry.
He's right. If you have a very intelligent, like 6, 7-year-old, they understand this.
Mhm.
You can teach it to them, and it makes sense. And I get that some things in physics are counterintuitive, right? Like some of the things that occur are very counterintuitive, but this isn't one of them. This makes perfect sense. I think, yeah. Anyway, Dave, he's being really harsh, and I get that, but he's not wrong. We teach kids this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my kids, I forget how old they were, pretty small, like kindergarten or even before, where, they'd see a globe and they'd say, how does the water stay on it when, down is that way? And you just explain that, like, the globe is just a model that, the real Earth that the globe model is sitting on, along with us and our tables and chairs and everything. That's the source of gravity. So there is no down. It's towards the middle of the Earth. So it is being pulled down. It just, it's not hard. They make the connection almost instantly. They're like, oh, I see. That's just a representation,
Yeah.
Again, to reiterate for the third time, your entire identity is based on the idea that all the scientists in the entire world are lying deceivers. So you're a condescending
That's what
douchebag.
you say.
And me
That's what
calling you
say.
stupid, which you are, does not hold a candle to
All right,
what
Sean,
you are.
That's what he claims. I don't believe that. And
Wait,
that's what
I've
you're
got another question for other Dave,
Oh.
Professor Dave. Just so obviously I can see. I mean, it means a lot to you as on the other side, of course. Why does it annoy you so much, the flat Earth stuff?
Because it's so. I mean, first of all, a lot of what I do. I do mainly academic tutorials, but I also address misinformation. I'm very passionate about public science literacy and science denial. And flat Earth.
And that's still true, in fact. Professor Dave was recently over on friend of the channel, Michael Beverly's channel, which is a tremendous amount of fun. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that one out as well. Me with the random shout-outs. But Professor Dave was on there specifically to talk about promoting science literacy, because that's probably the single most important thing we can do to build a better world.
Yeah.
And yeah, fuck yeah, all in.
Yeah.
Is the bottom of the barrel. So I go after like anti-vaxxers and stuff like that, and that is a little more sophisticated, and you have to actually understand a little bit of biochemistry, a little bit of immunology and things like that. Flat Earth is the only one. I just proved the Earth is a sphere multiple times in this exchange based on looking at things in the sky and thinking. That's how we figured out the Earth is a sphere several thousand years ago. It's like the first thing we figured out. So this is why it's so offensive, because it is a denial of literally all of science. Astronomy, all wrong. Geology, all wrong. Physics, all wrong. It's so unbelievably offensive to the entire human race. That's why you're a douchebag, and me calling you stupid is nowhere near the magnitude of douchebaggery that is your entire identity.
You're talking to him, not me, right?
Sorry, yeah, it's a Davy boy over there.
Now, to be clear, Andrew Gold is a douchebag deceiver, to borrow from Dave. But yes, in this particular exchange, he's talking about Flat Dave. And he makes a really good point, because it's not just insulting him personally. It's what Flat Dave stands for is literally an insult to not just current science, but generations of human effort. It's looking at hundreds of thousands of people over hundreds and hundreds of years and saying, you're all dum-dums. I'm smarter than all of you, know? Like, that's really offensive, or it should be.
So he believes that scientists that he never met 2,000 years ago proved that the Earth is a globe, when in reality, in the 1940s and 50s and up to the early 60s, they were still teaching flat Earth in public school here.
No, they weren't.
No,
That's
they
the thing
weren't.
you're saying.
There's
globes from hundreds.
Yeah. That's, oh my goodness. We've heard that one before.
Right. And people used to say that, in Columbus's time, they thought that the Earth was flat, kind of thing. And that's not true either. They knew it was a globe. The fact that Columbus thought that he'd reached the Indies, he went west trying to find the Indies by going the other way round, kind of thing, rather than going west, going east to find the Indies. So they knew it was a globe a long time ago. Flat Earth has never been a thing. It only really got started due to that idiot in England doing the canal experiment kind
Parallax.
of thing.
Robotham, I believe.
Robotham, right. And they had that sort of secret society going that was just terrible. At no point has the sort of academic or scholars of humanity in any area thought that the Earth was flat. At no point since ancient Greek times.
Yeah, I'm skeptical that it was even, like, it may have been hypothesized, but even then there was criticism. Like, why do we see ships vanish over the horizon? And they fell off the edge. That's what I got in grade school. Like, people would say, oh, well, back in the day, people thought the Earth was flat before we learned better. Often as part of that promotion of Columbus. He proved the Earth was round. The fuck he did, but never mind that. That's a whole other thing. They'd say, well, they'd see a ship sail over the horizon, and they'd go, oh, that ship sailed off the edge. What did they think when the ship sailed back a few, like, you're leaving Athens to go on a trading mission to Egypt, and you go over the edge. Oh, they sailed off the edge. And then a few weeks later, the ship comes back, having completed its trading mission, and now it's got new goods to offload. Like, what do they think when a different ship appears on the horizon and sails into port? Did it fall up over the edge? Like, that's not an explanation that would make any sense. And again, an elementary school kid can catch this shit. It doesn't hold up at all.
Yeah, so what they did think was that the Earth had the sun, the geocentric was the model that they thought was true. That's definitely something you can leverage against it, kind of thing, right? But no.
Yeah, I can kind of see how ancient philosophers might have been able to, because like the motion of the Earth, especially around the sun, it's not fully intuitive. There are ways the ancients could
Right,
have figured
right.
it out, and some of them did posit that,
Some of
like
them
the
did, yeah.
changing of the constellations over the course of the year. But it's not an obvious thing in the same way.
Right, right.
And hundreds of years ago. You can't just say that. Like,
Yeah.
you should show me something. Show me a textbook. You can't just say, "Oh, this thing I made up is true." You're an idiot. What are you talking about? We've known the Ptolemaic model, which was reigned supreme from like 100 or whatever to the Copernican model, used a spherical Earth. Geocentrism used a spherical Earth, and then Copernicus and Kepler happened, and they wrote books. By the way, they wrote books, and you can read them. That they exist. And we've known about heliocentrism for 500 years since. So I don't know what you're talking about. You are completely pulling that out of your ass. Nobody taught a flat Earth anywhere for any measurable amount of time.
Can we have Dave tell us how seasons happen on the globe?
Okay, so I wish I had the graphic because it really works really well.
It's a hell of a
so there's
gotcha.
a tilt in Earth's rotational
Yeah.
axis, right? It's tilted like this. So one of the hemispheres is exposing more of itself to the sun, right? And so you get more direct light versus, so let's say this is the northern hemisphere, this is the southern hemisphere. More of the northern hemisphere is exposed to direct sunlight, so you have longer daylight, right? So it's so hard to just do in my hand like this.
No, I get it.
But-
I understand. Yeah, when we're tilted towards it, the sunlight's hitting direct, and it's more intensified here, and down here it's spread out more. Makes sense. I
Yeah,
got it.
because of the curvature, so it has
I
to
got
spread
it.
out
So
around
it's
a greater
spread out
area.
more. But isn't the sun so large that all of the rays leaving the sun are parallel? And why wouldn't the parallel rays that are a little off to the left, hit us direct? Are the rays leaving the sun parallel, or are they leaving not parallel?
Okay, when
Does he not understand angles either?
I don't know. He doesn't seem to.
I'm utterly. I mean, I
I
realize
think
that flat
he's
Earth is stupid,
thinking-
but this is
Yeah. I
mind-boggling.
think he's thinking that it's a flat area, right? So if you have something coming in parallel to a flat area, just say you have 5 lines, the same amount is going to hit, but it's curved, so it curves away, and that's why less parallel lines hit the other thing, because it's curved away. It's really weird, very weird.
Mm-hmm.
when you have a certain, okay, here's a lateral distance. If the sun is directly hitting the part of the Earth that's directly facing it, that's a certain area. Then if you move this way, we have the same lateral distance, but there's a lot of curvature here. It's covering a greater surface area.
I have to ask a question. So can the Earth? Can
Okay, do you want to admit that I just explained that perfectly and that your talking point was invalid?
I know. I admit that you explained that perfectly, but I have to
Okay,
ask
great.
a question. So we have the pole here, and we tilt the Earth. Okay.
Mhm.
And can you tilt the Earth this way? That's a tilt, also, right? Absolutely.
You're just turning it. What are you doing?
No. What I'm showing you is here. Here, let's say the sun is over there, and we tilt, and we're now directly towards we have a more direct angle. We're in agreement on this. But if I'm here, and I tilt it this way, well, now the sun is lower. It's
Flat Dave is mystified by how a day works.
Yeah, wait, is he saying, hey, it should be colder when the Earth rotates away from the sun? Is that what he's saying?
I'm not sure he knows what he's saying.
Like at night, maybe it should be colder?
Hey, did you know we get less daylight during the nighttime?
No.
I'm shook.
Did you know it's colder at night? Did you know that? No, say it ain't so.
Yeah, it's darker too. It's crazy.
Incredible. But
Yeah.
don't forget, Ems. Don't forget, it's not the sun making the light. All right. Don't forget that. It's not the sun
true.
making the
That's
light.
true.
It doesn't come from the sun. So
Yeah, if the atmosphere were really curved, like, the Earth, if the Earth were really curved, the atmosphere would also have to be really curved. And if the atmosphere was really curved and it's scattering sunlight, then it should be possible to get some of that scattered sunlight even after the sun has gone down. The sky will still be light for a while afterwards. and you know, no one's ever taken a real photo of that, you know, or something.
Yeah, because dawn and dusk just aren't a thing. Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
no.
No.
Which is another thing. Like, again, we brought that up in our debate with Flatzoid and Jim. How the fuck does a sunrise work on a flat Earth? The sun
No
should
idea.
like get
Mhm.
bigger. It should come from a distance and get bigger rather than come up and
Yeah.
stay the same size all day. Like,
But they
I still want an
refuse to use
explanation.
solar filters to stop the sort of, you know, corona of the sun. They refuse to use solar filters and see that it remains exactly the same size as it rises and sets. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's got sort of at that point you're sort of, well, now it's just willful ignorance. You know, you're just lying at this point.
Yeah, you don't even need the solar filters. Like, you can do the same trick with the moon. You know, we showed it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
In the debate, right? Like a patch
Mhm.
of water with the moon setting into it. The moon doesn't get further and further away, smaller and smaller. It just sets right over the
Yeah.
horizon. And how does that happen? Who knows? It's a
knows?
mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Now skimming, it's now skimming, and it's not hitting as direct. So here's the problem with your seasons. In the north here, in December, when we're 3 million miles closer to the sun, but we'll just ignore that because it's not significant.
Yeah, it's not significant, so I don't know why you said it.
Well, we're 3 million miles closer. At sunrise, in December at noon, when the sun is 50 degrees in the sky, and I look at the sun, I can barely feel it on my face. I can't get a tan, right? But in June, when we're farther away from the sun, doesn't matter. And at sunrise, when the sun is literally an 89-degree tilt, the worst possible angle, as soon as it shows up on the horizon, I can feel the heat and I can get a tan. Why is that? Because in your world, it should be arctically freezing every morning all year long.
I genuinely have no idea what you're saying. You're throwing around 89 degree. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so you have the sun here, right? The sun, and we're tilted, so it's 34-degree tilt. Well, if I tilted it all the way down to the horizon, so I'm here and the sun's over here, okay? That's an 89-degree tilt, 1 degree off the horizon, right? Any farther, it would be below the horizon. The sun
I'm
sets,
already lost. I have no idea what you're saying.
It's because you're stupid, Dave. Right?
5 minutes
No,
left,
it's
guys.
because you're not
5
saying
minutes.
anything.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't understand what he's on about. Does he know that the Earth retains heat? Like during the day, it heats up the Earth. That Earth retains the heat, and basically it stays hot. It doesn't just like as soon as the Earth like spins away from the sun, it just becomes absolute zero kind of thing. You know, the heat escapes, but you know, at nighttime it's a lot colder and the Earth is a lot colder. It's because it's not absorbing that sunlight, but it doesn't mean all the heat just evaporates into nothing instantly as soon as the sun's not on it. It holds heat and then it transfers that heat into the atmosphere. It's
Yeah.
why,
And
yeah,
and
you don't suddenly
on the
freeze.
tanning thing, as people have mentioned, a lot of times the tanning is because layers and you don't go outside as much. And you absolutely can get a tan in the winter. In fact, you can get sunburn in the winter because you're still getting the UVs that do the thing. In fact, you're getting, in some situations, more, because even though the sun is lower and you're getting less direct sunlight for fewer hours, the albedo of the snow is so high. Like, I wear sunglasses all year, but I need them more in the winter than I do in the summer, because in the summer, the sun is usually like up above the truck's roof and whatnot, but in the winter, it's lower. And wherever it is, the whole fucking world has become a giant light reflector. You know, everything is bright. It just,
and it depends on
Fern
cloud
apparently
cover.
beat me to the sunburn thing. And also the sun reflected off the snow. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't get snow, but and it really just depends on the cloud cover. It's like, well, if you've got a lot of cloud cover, you won't. It'll be colder if you know. But Maya's got an excellent point. Instead of laughing, Dave should make Dave. Dave should make Dave. So Globe Dave should make Flat Dave explain seasons on a flat Earth, and I absolutely agree with that. That is 100% true. That's a good pickup. So instead, you say, well, what causes seasons on the flat Earth? Because there doesn't seem to be a reason.
it's sorcery. But yeah, that's not just a great point for this specific instance. It's a great point for any kind of situation.
Right.
The skeptical response for this kind of bullshit. It works with Kent Hovens and Ken Hams. Whenever they try to pick apart what science says about something, don't just and we all fall into this trap from time to time. We've done so many debate reviews, people going after these grifters, to put it politely. And it's like constant defense, answering the question. And some of us do a great job of it. Grayson is phenomenal at answering questions to the point that it's like overwhelming evidence that he's right. But we mustn't neglect the other side of it and demand the same level of explanation from their side. How does this shit work for you? You know?
Mm-hmm.
You're just going, if it tilted this way, this has nothing to do with anything.
If the Earth is tilted 34 degrees, that's how
23 degrees, something
23 degrees, whatever. If we tilted it 90 degrees, the sun would set. It would set over the pole, which doesn't happen. So the farther,
5 minutes left, guys. 5 minutes left.
The farther I tilt it, the more spread out those rays are. Well, the spin is the equivalent to the tilt. So when I'm spinning away from the sun's getting lower and lower and lower. It's spreading out across the world. It should get colder and colder and colder because that sun is spreading out.
Spreading across? You understand that there's always a face of the Earth. There's always the sun is hitting half of the Earth.
Not according to the time and date. All right, but
the sun isn't always hitting half of the Earth.
On the ball, it would be, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, it does though. So what are you talking about,
David?
Yeah.
You're not listening. Okay.
I am. You're just not saying anything.
I can tilt. So if we're tilted away from the sun, we have our winter. And if I tilted farther, it gets really cold because Antarctica or the Arctic is tilted farther away. That's why it's cold in your world, right?
But it's not. What do you mean? If we tilt it further, it's not tilted further. It's a 23-degree axial tilt. So what do you mean tilted further? What are you talking about?
Why is it colder in the Arctic in the winter than it is in Florida in the winter?
I just explained it earlier.
I know. Dave,
it's getting more direct sunlight.
Absolutely. So don't interrupt.
If the axis is tilted away, then
don't interrupt. You asked him a question. You literally said, "How come the Arctic is colder than Florida?"
Wow. Although this does touch on another point that the flat Earth cannot explain. Why is the Arctic cold? Why is there a big mountain of snow in the middle when the sun is going around the middle? How would it ever get cold enough for the snow and ice to build up?
Mm-hmm.
No. You're not getting it. Listen.
Okay, you can just say that, but I actually explained it.
You're not getting this, okay?
Dave, we've run out of time. We've run out of time.
Listen.
I'm just going to let you guys tell the viewers where they can find you and support you. So, Professor Dave, we'll start with you.
You
Thank you for coming on, Professor Dave.
Thank you.
Can you tell the viewers where they can find you and support you, please?
Professor Dave explains.
But the thing is, he isn't holding the ball at a 23-degree angle. He's holding the ball at like a 90-degree angle and saying, "Hey, why is Florida hotter in the winter than the North Pole?" And it's like, dude, you're not holding it at a 23-degree angle. You're holding it at 90 degrees. Like, stop. If you held it at a 23-degree angle, you would see that Florida is getting more direct sunlight than the top of that curve is. That's it. That's all there is to it. And the reason why when it rotates and goes to the other side, that Florida's still hotter at night than the Arctic is because the Earth absorbs all that sunlight. That's it. That's all.
Why is Florida hotter than the Arctic at literally any time of year? It's the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm with you, Maya. This it hurts the head, but the good news is it's done now.
Yeah.
It's kind of shitty how Sean just like cut them off and went into outros because he's on such tight time constraints, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That like, okay, we're not even going to finish answering that question. Just do your plugs and off we go.
Yeah.
Well, on the plus side, we did learn a couple random things, and hopefully you
Yeah.
all found that entertaining, because I mean, as much as the dumb hurt, I found a lot of laughs in there. So
That
you
wa-
know,
I do admit that is really funny how clueless that man is. Like the flat Earth day. Like seriously, it's kind of like he was desperate at the end to just say anything that would refute him, and it's sort of like, dude, I wow, wow.
yeah, I think he was making up that argument on the fly, because he didn't even seem to be able to explain what he
No,
was trying to say very clearly. It's just,
he didn't articulate it. Like he
yeah,
really was not articulating anything coherent. It was sort of just a real. I don't know. I still don't know. I'm really guessing at what he was trying to say. So I don't blame Globe Dave for just going, "You're not saying anything," because yeah, he was not articulating anything coherent.
yeah. But I mean, that's sort of the point of I think that's why Professor Dave agreed to do the debate, because it exposes how fucking ridiculous these kinds of
Yeah,
ideas are. And that's what we all try to do when we, bother to debate these people who are
yeah,
not only obviously wrong, but know they're lying. They're grifters, they're liars, they're deceivers. They're, in their own terms, you
yeah,
might say they're demonic. Um, you show it. You drag them
yeah.
out into the light of day, put a spotlight on them, and show it. And the zealots and the true believers, they're never going to change their mind. But likewise, the people who have a couple years of education already know they're lying. It's the people in between who aren't really convinced that you're trying to show. These people are very deceptive, and they're trying to take your money or hurt you or both. You need to be aware of that. People need to be aware that there are threats like this. And
Mhm.
also, even though Flat Earth itself is laughably dumb, by showing people this sort of thing, it makes them a little bit more skeptical and a little bit more resistant to the more persuasive ideas, like
Hopefully, yeah,
QAnon for some reason.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we're
Or
doing the
or
Lord's work up in here.
or the oil tablets that the guy's selling on his website, or the you know Bitcoin F thing that he's selling on his bloody website. This
Yeah.
guy is a con artist. Seriously, wow.
The fact he makes any money at that is sort of terrifying. But,
I mean,
you
his
know,
flat Earth could be a way to filter people who are vulnerable to being taken advantage of. A lot of these preachers do the same. They say ridiculous stuff, and it, you know, whoever is still listening to them can be convinced of things easily. Right. So I'm thinking about that guy who's the real exorcist kind of thing. Like if you believe his
mhm.
freaking nonsense, you know, you will fall for anything. And I think that is what some of them do. They rely on their nonsense to filter out the people who are skeptical from the people who can be taken advantage of.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. As Kamikaze notes, it's the same thing. It's the Prince of Nigeria scam. It's
Yeah.
the fake PayPal phishing scam. They deliberately leave the typos in those emails because a
Yep.
person who doesn't notice is much more likely to wind up giving them all their money, intentionally or otherwise.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's good to know about these things in general as well as specifically. Now, debating flat earthers, that's just kind of a for fun lolcow thing. But
Yeah.
in the general sense, being aware of all this crap, it
Mhm.
it can save a grandma's life savings.
Yeah.
All right, so that's gonna do it for today, folks. Mark, what have you got coming up this week?
Coming up, I don't have that much on. I've been taking a rest from things for a little bit. Took a rest from my gaming channel for a little bit, but I'm going to start that back up. So don't worry, all of my little gamers. I'm definitely gonna start that up again. Um, I'm trying to get an interview. Oh, I've been trying to get a few people for interviews, so I may have them coming up. But more just Thursday night Eastern time or Friday, I have Fundamentalist Fails as per usual. And that's about all I have on. I did get an inquiry for a flat Earth debate from MDD, but I have yet to see if it's going to go through or not. So we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah.
But
It's
that's about all.
all right. It's cool. Yeah, taking it easy when you can, when you need to.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. As
Yeah,
for
I
me,
just haven't been doing the best lately, so I've been sort of taking a bit of a not working as furiously.
I feel that I need to do a better job of scaling it back.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to organize things in such a way that it makes it possible without dropping any of the things that I really like to do, such as the interview shows that show up occasionally on Sundays, which we're having one tomorrow. Nick Suter from In Time is going to be by. That'll, as always, lead into Bad Science Sunday. So,
Yep.
come
Yep.
back tomorrow. Get to know Nick if you haven't met him, or come hang out with me and Nick if you do know him, because if you do know him, you understand that you want to hang out with him, because he's a really fun people person. And then Bad Science Sunday, which, if you haven't seen, is one of the best things on YouTube, so definitely check that out. And then on Thursday, my Thursday, I'm over on the Transpositions, our weekly newscast, where I'll have some good news for everyone. So that should be pretty fun too. And then next weekend, we're back on Mark's channel, more debate madness, and yeah. So thanks everybody for joining us. As I said at the beginning, but these are long streams, so I'll say again, I appreciate the hell out of everybody in the live chat, the comments, the jokes, seeing y'all here. That's why we do these live, and I love it. I enjoy the hell out of it. It's one of my favorite things to do, so I appreciate all you folks. If you're new here, you enjoy this kind of content, which you must if you stuck around for 4 hours to watch this whole thing, maybe hit that subscribe button so you'll get to see more of these. We'd love to see y'all in a live chat sometime. And there's so many more plugs I could do. Join the Patreon, be a member, all the things. There's so many things, and I should make a list sometime, but I think I'll steal Brentley's outro today because I enjoy it. The main thing is to remain skeptical, loving, compassionate, and we'll see you next time. Good night.